Cool. Cool. So we do have the classifications for the end of practice 1. It was a very interesting session with quite a lot of running from all of the drivers out there doing some long runs as well as some quali sims at the end. Of course, only having one practice session here today before qualifying later this afternoon. Our top 10 are as follows.
Max Verstappen in first place on the set of medium tyres at 105.7. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc in the two Ferraris on soft tyres were 0.24 and 0.27 seconds respectively behind that. Fourth place, Lewis Hamilton. Sergio Perez rounds us in fifth. Lance Stroll in sixth. Kevin Magnussen 7th. Fernando Alonso in 8th. George Russell in 9th. And Zhou Guanyu rounds off our top 10. And of course, if you guys are joining us, welcome to the channel Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports for live qualifying stream now. Of course, we're going to bring you F3 and F2 content as well. We're going to round off the bottom 10 just very shortly. Just going to wait for it to shift across. And there we go. Reese, run us through our bottom 10 here.
Yes, our bottom 10 are as follows. Alex Albon in 11th, Oscar Piastri 12th, Hulkenberg 13th, Bottas 14th, Tsunoda 15th, De Vries 16th, Sargent 17th, Ocon and Gasly, the two Alpines, interestingly enough, only down in 18th and 19th. And then once again, we have Norris all the way down in 20th with that upgraded McLaren. Hopefully they will have a bit more pace. I don't think they did a qualifying run for Lando Norris, unfortunately, in FP1, but we should see that lap time hopefully getting improved. I mean, he's been quite competitive throughout this season in qualifying. Hopefully he'll be able to pull out another one today for qualifying for Sunday. We then also do have qualifying tomorrow morning, of course, for the sprint race. Very, very much a jam-packed race weekend ahead of us with Formula 2 and Formula 3 running, of course, as well.
Yeah, and I mean, the interesting things to note from this practice session, the only practice session for the weekend, is the fact that we didn't see any soft tyre runs from the likes of Esteban Ocon, Lando Norris, Fernando Alonso, Max Verstappen, and I think Sergio Perez as well.
Mercedes as well.
No. Both Mercedes did soft tyre runs, but I think Sergio Perez is the only other one that also didn't do a soft tyre run. So we don't actually have a true reflection of the times from some of the drivers. Just confirmation of that. Fernando Alonso, Sergio Perez, Verstappen did not do any soft tyre runs in that session. So we don't actually quite know how much quicker they can get as we go into qualifying this afternoon. So the other thing, of course, is the fact that we've got rain scheduled for this weekend. So we didn't get a good indication of what that might be doing for the weekend because we had a very dry session.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a dry session. We don't know what's going to happen later this afternoon. There's been predictions of rain. We don't know if it's going to happen. They are up in the Alps, in the Styrian Alps in Austria. So the weather can change quite quickly. We've seen it in the past, how we've had a dry start to qualifying. And throughout the rest of qualifying, the rain has moved in and just thrown a bit of a span into the works. It certainly makes it very interesting for us to watch along. But, I mean, it could really affect and upset a couple of the teams.
Yeah, and just qualifying's coming up in a bit, and we've obviously just finished off the first practice session. Max Verstappen very clearly in first place on a set of mediums, 2.2 seconds quicker than Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc in those Ferraris, who only did manage to get into the top 3 right towards the end of that session. Should we be concerned, or Ferrari just relaxed, they're fine with what's happening?
I don't really know. It's hard to tell. We've had one practice session. We don't know whether this is their true pace, whether they can qualify second and third. I mean, they're very far off the pace of, certainly off the pace of the Red Bulls. 0.2 seconds off of Verstappen's time on a set of mediums. I mean, how much more time can Max Verstappen still find out here on track?
Yeah, and Lewis Hamilton, though, only in fourth on a set of softs. I think he only did one soft tyre run, or at least 2, so it didn't necessarily get the most amount of time. 0.5 seconds behind Max Verstappen in fourth position. His teammate Sergio Perez in fifth. What do we make of his session there? I think it was just quietly got on with the job. Nothing special, nothing fancy.
I think as well, he will still be recovering from being ill, of course, so hopefully he'll be feeling a little bit better this afternoon for qualifying. Hopefully he will be able to get himself a little bit further up for the race on Sunday. It should be very interesting. I mean, we could get a bit of an upset if, as I said, if we get some rain for qualifying. It could make it a very, very exciting race on Sunday, as well as, I mean, rain in general just makes things very, very fun and exciting for us as commentators. And I mean, never know what's going to happen in Formula One. It's always a bit of an unknown.
So George Russell all the way down in ninth, of course, Lewis Hamilton's teammate. Should we also be concerned about the Mercedes of George Russell? The fact that he's almost a whole second on a set of softs behind Max Verstappen and almost a whole half second behind his teammate. I mean, it's quite slow.
Yeah, he is quite slow, but I mean, it's practice one. People are still trying to get to the bottom of their setup for the weekend. They're still trying to get comfortable. So, I mean, often you don't see drivers really putting in their full potential until qualifying comes. But we don't have very long to wait until that, because it is taking place in just a few hours later this evening, or this afternoon for us. We do have qualifying for the race on Sunday.
Yes, indeed. And just to finalize, based off of now, we had predictions in our race weekend preview yesterday. And now, based off of the first session, I'm going to say again, we've got qualifying this afternoon. Just a prediction for qualifying this afternoon. Where do you place our top three drivers?
So I don't think we've seen the true pace from the Mercedes just yet. For them to be about half a second off of Max Verstappen at the moment, I'm very surprised. So I think they'll be able to move up a little bit more. I think the pace from Ferrari may just be a little bit false at the moment, as much as that hurts me to say. But I think we'll have Max Verstappen easily taking that top spot of qualifying. Then maybe Lewis Hamilton and Lance Stroll P2 and P3.
You're saying Lance Stroll?
Sorry, not Lance Stroll. Fernando Alonso. Sorry, we've been talking about Lance Stroll so much. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go similarly. I'm gonna go, however, Max Verstappen 1, Fernando Alonso 2, Charles Leclerc in 3 is what's going to be my predictions. So that, of course, is going to happen on this stream, this very stream. So don't go anywhere. We're going to bring you F3 qualifying and F2 qualifying as well. But stick around on the channel. And one more shout out to our channel partner for today and this weekend, Bitdefender Cybersecurity. Go and check them out in the chat as well as the description. They are fantastic for protecting your computer from any sort of harm. And they're also a sponsor of Ferrari, so we're associated. That's going to be our new go-tos. The fact that we are associated with that team that we also hopefully love and know about in Formula One. But otherwise, guys, take care. We'll be back later for qualifying and enjoy the rest of the stream. From me, Mark, and from Reese, we're going to say goodbye for now. Cheerio. welcome to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports for this, the Austrian Grand Prix preview. And of course, I'm joined with Reese, and we are together for once in the studio today for the Austrian Grand Prix preview. And yeah, lots could happen this week. It's the sprint weekend, of course, so we will have a sprint on the Saturday. So how the structure of the weekend works is very simple. We will go practice 1 tomorrow morning, then we will have qualifying. Then that's of course for the race. Then on Saturday we will have the sprint shootout, and then we will have the actual sprint, and then Sunday we will have the race. So that's of course the structure and the schedule for the weekend. But you're in Austria. It's Red Bull Home Grand Prix. Reese has got some stats for us with regards to the actual race itself. And Reese, what can you tell us?
Well, yes, it should be a very interesting race weekend ahead of us. This is going to be the 42nd race held at the Österreich the Red Bull Ring, known by everyone else. As I said, the 42nd time it has been held here at this circuit, and it was first held in 1963. Certainly a very historic track on our Formula One calendar. Currently, our most wins from drivers is sitting at a tie between Joe Siffert, Alain Prost, and Max Verstappen, with 3 wins between all of those 3 drivers. But the most wins by constructor is Ferrari. Could we see Ferrari making a bit of a turnaround here this weekend? We'll have to wait and see. Our fastest pole position time here that we have had before is a 1 minute 4 second 0.9. So I don't know if we'll be able to see that being beaten this weekend, but it's always possible with these new regulation cars. The race distance here, though, is around 306 kilometers, 190 miles, and there's always around 71 laps that we do have here.
Yeah, and yeah, we're going into this weekend with Red Bulls, of course, the favourites in their home Grand Prix, and they're favourites for every race this entire season as well. So no surprises there that they're going to the favourites again. However, Sergio Perez might have a little bit of a problem. I mean, we know he's got a problem in the season anyway, but it turns out he's now sick. So what could that possibly mean?
Well, I mean, it could have quite a bad effect on him, of course, in terms of losing points from a race weekend. It also could mean that he just loses a little bit more confidence not being in the car for another race weekend.
Well, that's of course if he doesn't race.
Yes, if he doesn't race, if he isn't able to get well before this race weekend gets underway. Hopefully he will be able to get back in the car. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens tomorrow in free practice 1. And I think it's race qualifying tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah, race qualifying tomorrow.
So, I mean, if Sergio Perez is sick, and of course that's not going to help him if he does go into it in a sickly manner in terms of trying to get around the track quickly and getting another restart, as you're supposed to restart a season in Canada, and you'll only be able to restart it, therefore, this weekend. If he's sick, it's not going to help. But if he should actually not be able to race, then what happens for Red Bull? Because we haven't seen that so far this season. What would happen?
No, we haven't seen it happen for any of the teams.
No, I should take that all back. Lance Stroll did not race the first weekend.
That's true. Yes. We had, who was it? I think it was Felipe Drugovich.
Yeah.
Filled in for Lance Stroll when he had the broken wrist. But Stroll was still able to participate in the race in Bahrain. He just wasn't able to participate in testing. But if Perez is still unwell and not able to participate in the rest of this race weekend, we're going to have, I think, possibly Danny Ricciardo coming into that Red Bull seat. That could really put a lot of pressure on Perez if Danny Rick comes in and really outperforms his, well, not even his teammate.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be a tough ask for Daniel Ricciardo, of course, if he does come in to that Red Bull seat in place of Sergio Perez, should he not be able to recover in time, well, recover enough, of course, to go into the race car. He's not been in a Formula One car, of course, since last season, but he's no stranger to it. Well, I say not been in the Formula One car. He's not been racing.
Well, he's not been in a Red Bull Formula One car. He's been in the sim a lot, though, which has been quite beneficial for the Red Bull team. We don't just have Danny Rick, though, as that backup driver. We do still have Liam Lawson as another backup driver for Red Bull if Danny Rick isn't able to make it this weekend. I don't know if Daniel Ricciardo is doing his Nordschleife run this weekend. I don't know. It might be. But if he is unable to get to the Austrian track, I'm sure they will get Liam Lawson then to fill in that seat. But we'll still have to wait and see what happens with Sergio.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Liam Lawson there and Daniel Ricciardo as the reserve drivers for Red Bull for Sergio Perez this weekend. Both of them coming from down under in Australia and New Zealand, respectively. So they're asking for support from the far ends of the earth. Is that really how far they're going to try and get a replacement for Sergio Perez?
Liam Lawson is racing in, I think, Formula 2, so he'll be in Austria anyways, as we do have those support races taking place this weekend.
I was making a bit of a joke. But yes, we do have, as we says, the Formula 3 and the Formula 2 happening this weekend, which you will catch in our live streams as well. We'll be doing timing boards about that as well. So, yeah, don't go anywhere on the channel. We're going to bring you all of the information as much as possible. And, yeah, I've got a very exciting race weekend with lots of racing happening. Now, again, we went back to it. We have a sprint race happening this weekend. And the FIA has today made an F1 sprint rule change. And I'm just going to read the article a little bit. And it says the change gets around an unintended consequence which was introduced at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, of course, our previous sprint. And F1 sprint regulations have again changed ahead of the Austrian Grand Prix in order to overcome issues experienced in Azerbaijan. New rules were introduced ahead of the Baku event that saw Saturday's proceedings separated from the Grand Prix, with a new qualifying shootout introduced to replace what was FP2. In this shootout, which determined the grid for the sprint, drivers had to use medium tyres in SQ1 and SQ2 before using softs in the final stage. But teams were not obliged to save a set of new softs for SQ3 and instead could use up their allocation in the sole practice session and the main qualifying hour on Friday. This was the case for McLaren's Lando Norris and AlphaTauri's Yuki Tsunoda. Though only the Briton made it into SQ3 and had both drivers made the final segment of the shootout, the rules allowed for intermediate tyres to be used in order to start to start 9th rather than 10th. So the rules that have been modified. Race director Niels Wittich's event notes read, in order to avoid the acknowledged unintended consequence whereby in certain situations at sprint events it becomes attractive to run intermediate tyres on the dry track, the following amendment to Article 30.5H of the Formula 1 sporting regulations is made. Consultation has occurred with the commercial rights holders, stewards and teams. The agreement of the FIA, the commercial rights holder, and 9 articles. Oh, this is all very complicated article stuff. Basically, according to the decision, is in the period SQ3 of the sprint shootout, up to 1 set of dry weather tyres may be used, and this must only be a set of the soft specifications. So no more medium tyres to be used in SQ3.
Or intermediates.
Or intermediates, indeed.
Yes.
So
I mean, that's quite weird to have drivers using a set of intermediates. I didn't even know that happened in the last qualifying shootout or shootout qualifying that we have, sprint qualifying. Yeah, I didn't even know they did that. That's very weird. And I mean, I don't know why teams would try and use that loophole. I mean, I don't think you'd ever find a gain on intermediate tires during a qualifying
I suppose the concept is that if you go and use the intermediate tires in qualifying 3, when you are like a Lando Norris, for example, you stand no chance of beating the other 9 drivers in front of you. You get to savor your own softs for the race, so that's a better thing. So that must probably be the reason why they've done that. And
I guess it does allow the teams to be a bit more equally balanced for the race as well as the sprint, because then they all have the same amount of allocation of tires for the entire weekend. But it's very weird. You always find teams finding these small little loopholes and really taking advantage of them.
Yeah. And speaking of FIA and rule changes and otherwise, Lewis Hamilton's been in the news. He's been calling out certain things. Reece, do you want to read a little bit about the fact that I'm just going to read the name of the article. And it says Lewis Hamilton says the FIA should introduce a new rule on car development amid Red Bull's domination of F1 in 2023. Sounds like someone's a little bit sour.
Well, I did read a little bit about this earlier today, and Hamilton was pretty much saying that he wants teams to be regulated as to when they can start developing their car for the next season. It's very interesting. I mean, quite hypocritical when you've been in a Mercedes that was dominant for 7 years, because they started developing their car earlier than any other team had before the turbo hybrid regulations came to be. Mercedes was that test mule for those new regulations, as Williams was the new test mule for these new regulations. I mean, can you be saying stuff like this when you know you've taken advantage to...
Yeah, but it no longer suits them. So it no longer suits the team. So now they're seeing other people take advantage of something they're used to, and they're unable to take advantage of it. So I suppose that's the argument. To be fair, take away where he might have been. I could probably agree and say the problem is that, for example, like Ferrari have basically given up on this season, and a lot of their development ideas are going straight towards next season. They're going straight, well, we don't,
yes.
well, now we're going to develop this car. And you're going, well, you still got another, 13 races to go in this season.
It's Formula One. They know they've lost already this year. There's no point fighting for the championship, wasting very valuable resources in a budget cap era. I mean, they're already relatively regulated as to how much work they can do with the budget cap. So, I mean, what's the point in putting a date on it? Because there is only so much you can do with the certain amount of money that you have. So, you're already being super regulated in that sense. So, yeah, I mean, it's a bit pointless. I understand why he wants it, but at the same time, I mean, how are you going to regulate that as well? How are you going to monitor that teams aren't doing any designs in CAD or in any other design software? Or how are you going to regulate it with Adrian Newey, who draws everything? You're not going to go and take away his drawing board and his pencil and go, no, Adrian, you can't start designing your car
that yet
until the 5th of December.
Yes.
No,
it's going to be difficult.
Very difficult to judge.
Yeah.
Or
And
police.
that's one of the pieces of news there. But the big news that has also been released this week, and that is while speaking about Red Bull taking advantage of things, is the fact that Red Bull's overall structures will be changing from 2024. And that is the fact that AlphaTauri, which is of course their development team in the Formula One,
Formerly Toro Rosso.
Yes, formerly Toro Rosso. I'll get there eventually. Sorry.
And before that, I think it was Minardi.
Minardi, yes. They will be yet again changing their name and their whole setup. So the AlphaTauri team will be renamed for the 2024 season. Helmut Marko has confirmed with the junior team to follow Red Bull Racing as far as the regulations allow. So that's the one major piece of news there. The fact that, and of course that's following on the news that we've got that High-Tech will be getting involved in Formula One. I mean, not that that's going to necessarily...
We haven't had a confirmation yet that they are going to be joining forces for AlphaTauri, but we are speculating that at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, Red Bull and High-Tech are quite involved in the junior formulas, so you could see that relationship coming over to Formula One. Certainly a great prospect for Red Bull. Of course, they want to have another team, or they want to have a partnership with a team for their new engines that they are going to start manufacturing. So that could be where AlphaTauri comes, or High-Tech comes into play.
Yeah.
Because I think Red Bull are starting to look at moving away from the sister team, starting to look at maybe offloading it, because, I mean, it does cost them a lot of money.
Yeah, I suppose, of course, their sister team, AlphaTauri, has been their little... You guys go try something, and then we'll base our own development off of that as a result. So it's quite beneficial for teams to have those smaller teams underneath them. Mercedes has Williams, and you've got Red Bull with AlphaTauri, of course. So
I think the biggest benefit, though, for teams is to put their junior drivers in. That's certainly where, if Red Bull did have to step away from AlphaTauri, or High-Tech as it could be named, it could be a bit of a disappointment for them, because they don't have that place to put those junior drivers and give them a seat in Formula One. And it does just open them up to the risk of having a lot more of their drivers being poached by other teams.
Yeah. So that's our speculation, at least. There's no coincidence, I don't think, that High-Tech go and announce they're going to be joining Formula One. And then in the same week, AlphaTauri announces they're going to be having a name change and a restructuring from 2024 onwards. So one assumes it's going to be building up towards High-Tech taking over that team there. But yeah, that's big news, though, because, of course, that's Yuki Tsunoda and... Nick de Vries. I say Nick de Vries as if that's going to affect him too much. I think he's got bigger things to worry about right now in his future. But
massively, yeah.
They've got to worry about what's going to be happening with their team, because restructuring can be many things, of course. So that's the one piece of news there that's relatively significant. Reese, you've got some more?
Yes, well, I've got an article here just saying, this is from the Mirror, saying Mercedes to spring Lewis Hamilton's surprise at Austrian Grand Prix in a warning to Max Verstappen.
Oh, I wish.
Whether we can take that with a grain of salt, I think so. People are just saying, at a circuit which bears the name and boasting a 100% record so far in 2023, Red Bull will certainly be wanting to take the win again here at their home circuit, the Red Bull Ring. But not everyone thinks that the Austrian Grand Prix will be another procession for Max Verstappen. Red Bull have won every race so far this season. More than that, they have generally done so with ease. The RB19 has been well ahead of the rest of the grid. At the same time, that can't be said for Verstappen's teammate Sergio Perez, who's been struggling to keep up with him for the past few races. But going back on to Lewis Hamilton, just trying to find where they actually speak about him, because they're waffling a little bit here. Just saying Austria could be an exciting race because the teams are getting more competitive and balanced. If it rains, a lot of things can change. We could have a surprise from Mercedes because it looks like Lewis is coming back. Lewis certainly does seem like he is getting a bit more comfortable with his car. He seems a lot more happy with these new upgrades. Cars looking a lot more competitive as well. They're still quite far off of Red Bull in the dry, but as Toto Wolff said, I mean, the representative from Mercedes said, it could throw a bit of a span in the works with the rain because rain is predicted the entire weekend, Mark.
Yeah, and I mean, rain, of course, we saw in Canada what it can do with regards to rain and qualifying and otherwise. We saw some ridiculous things there, and unfortunately, you've closed the article. I was going to read one small thing from it, but it's fine. But, and somebody's going and saying not only is, of course, the rain going to throw a span in the works, the fact that Mercedes and Toto will have announced that they're bringing more upgrades to the car that's already been significantly upgraded to the point where suddenly it's become a lot more competitive. They're bringing even more upgrades and major upgrades, they say, to both Austria and Silverstone, of course, next week. So Mercedes could be a much more competitive team, and perhaps Red Bull do really need to wash their backs, because not only that, you speak about another team, Aston Martin, who thought they had a brakes issue with Alonso in Canada. And as a result, he dropped off of Verstappen, even though Alonso asked, I reckon I can win this race. And then they said, no, you have to continue to lift and coast. They discovered afterwards, of course, the brake issue wasn't there at all. So who knows how close that Aston Martin and the Red Bull could have actually got in Canada. It could have been a very, very interesting race there. And if that's saying the pace of Aston Martin is actually a hell of a lot closer to Red Bull than we thought, and now Mercedes is bringing upgrades.
Same engine.
It could be a very, very close Austria Grand Prix, and for all that it's in their home backyard, and of course, Red Bull, this is the Red Bull circuit. They might actually have probably the biggest fight of the whole season at home, where they thought it might be easiest.
I mean, it will make it great for us to watch. But yeah, speaking of upgrades though, coming to teams, you did say Mercedes has teased a bit of an upgrade coming towards this race weekend. Lando Norris and McLaren, I almost said Mercedes there. McLaren are bringing some upgrades, but only for one of the cars. So Lando Norris will be the only driver receiving upgrades for his McLaren car this race weekend, as they are splitting the upgrades between now and the Silverstone Grand Prix to see whether they work, of course, as well as it's part of the cost cap. It's just so expensive to bring and expedite upgrades towards races. So they've been able to finish one of the car's upgrades for this race weekend, and they weren't able to finish Oscars, so they're going to be bringing that next weekend. Hopefully they will bring some big gains though for the McLaren. They seem to be very, very fast in qualifying. That's certainly been a very big surprise.
Their qualifying time has significantly increased since the beginning of the season. The problem is their race pace and their race strategy still seems to let them down on a consistent basis, but they're not as doom and gloom as they used to be, but they're still so far off where they probably should be.
Yes, I mean, they are still very far off of where we would expect them to be. Just a bit of an explanation here from McLaren, just saying the Austria split in upgrades, bringing the upgrades, is so that McLaren can have a major part of the upgrade plus spares available this weekend. As the Austrian Grand Prix is a sprint weekend, parc fermé restrictions set in much earlier. Any change to the specifications from qualifying onwards would mean pit lane starts for both the sprint race on Saturday and Sunday's Grand Prix. If McLaren split the parts that are available across the two cars, it would risk an extremely costly penalty should anything get damaged. So, I mean, it makes sense for the McLarens to split that strategy, or to split those upgrades between the two cars, just to mitigate risk a little bit more than anything else. But we'll have to wait and see if these upgrades do bring a lot more potential to that McLaren suit.
Yeah, and the last bit of upgrades for a team we've not talked about, and again, every week we go, and the team we haven't really talked about because everyone just seems to somehow forget about them because of how dreadful they've been, and that is the most historic team, the most talked about supposedly team in Formula One.
Winning team at the Austrian Grand Prix.
Well, at almost every Grand Prix they've got the most wins, because it is, of course, Ferrari. And but they're also bringing upgrades this weekend. Problem is that we've seen this before from Ferrari, so we're going, don't think it's going to do much. But anyway, Sainz has thanked his Ferrari workforce, well, not his Ferrari workforce, but rather the Ferrari workforce, for the incredible effort, in quotes, of course, by Sainz, to bring updates to Austria, as Leclerc notes, steps in the right direction. Well, that's hard to
That's
come by
what
for
we-
Ferrari. So I've got an article here, and it's from the Formula One site here. It says Carlos Sainz has said that he cannot thank enough the Ferrari employees who worked around the clock to get upgrades in place for this week's Austrian Grand Prix as the team looks to make gains on their rivals. Ferrari set forth in the Constructors' Championships, of course, behind Red Bull, Mercedes, and Aston Martin, who we've all talked about, after a mixed start in the 2023 campaign. Mixed is putting it lightly, with Sainz
Dreadful is the way I'd put it.
with Sainz highlighting high
High
tire
tire
degradation.
That
So sorry,
I'm not
tongue
even reading the
twisted,
article and know
and
what
a
you said.
lack of performance in high-speed corners as the SF23's main issues. However, there were signs of the tyres front last time out in Canada, where the Ferrari drivers bounced back from a challenging qualifying session to claim a solid haul of points in P4 and P5. Not a bad race for them at all. Still wasn't quite challenging anywhere near the top. They were far off, but a much better bit of strategy for once as well. In Austria, their efforts are set to be bolstered by a batch of developments that Sainz hopes will yield another step in the right direction for the famous Italian marquee team. The team back in Maranello have done an incredible effort to bring them forward to this race, he said, paying tribute to their hard work. I cannot thank them enough for all the people back there, for the extra hours that everyone has put in for these parts to arrive. It's been a huge effort by everyone, and from here I want to congratulate them and tell them that we are going to do our best to make them work well, and hopefully they are all worth it and can be competitive this weekend. Now, the upgrades that they've brought, we don't actually know. They haven't specified, so it's
we're still also waiting for any pictures and leaked. Well, I've seen a few wings today on Twitter, but that's about it. It does look like people are bringing quite high downforce wings. Alpine and Aston Martin seem to have wings that are very similar. Red Bull with their high downforce wing that they've had most of the season, though. Interesting though to look at some of the different design changes. McLaren have changed the profile of their side pods. Sorry, we are moving away from Ferrari again, once as per usual. But yeah, McLaren's upgrades seem to be very, very familiar with the likes of Mercedes and Aston Martin. It's a bit of a split between those two teams. It's got very Aston Martin-esque side pods, but also the Mercedes-esque cutouts or dugouts in those side pods as well. It's interesting to see how other teams are starting to kind of see where the best setup is, and they're all starting to go in a very similar direction at the moment with their designs.
So lots of upgrades, of course, coming for Austria from all the big teams, and some of those upgrades will continue on into Silverstone next week. But otherwise, guys, that is the Austrian Grand Prix preview. It's going to be a very, very exciting race weekend. Of course, you can join us here on Forever Motorsports, on Forever Sports Live for all of the sessions. Me and Reese will take you through those. Of course, the sprint race weekend, so an even more exciting weekend, so don't go anywhere. And of course, whilst we leave you here, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on all notifications, comment down below what you think is going to happen in the race, and we will of course see you this weekend. Reese, any final thoughts?
Well, just before we do get started in this race weekend, I'm going to ask for your predictions.
Oh dear. Predictions, here we go.
So you've got 4 sets of predictions for me this weekend.
I've got how many? 4 sets of predictions. Okay, we're going.
Qualifying.
Qualifying.
Sprint qualifying.
Oh, okay.
Sprint and race.
Cannot keep the qualifying the same as the sprint qualifying.
No.
Okay. Qualifying itself, because it's a short thing, it's going to test the drivers that have been there a little bit more.
Well, it's a normal standard.
No, I'm just saying, but they've only had one practice session.
One session.
So I'm going to go Max Verstappen 1, I'm going to go Fernando Alonso 2, and I'm going to go Lewis Hamilton 3. Then for the qualifying for the sprint shootout, I'm going to say Max Verstappen 1, Fernando Alonso 2, Charles Leclerc 3, just because I reckon Ferrari will somehow do something there. In the shootout itself, I'm going to say a Max Verstappen 1, I'm going to say Fernando Alonso 2, and I'm going to say it's Ferrari, they'll probably crash. George Russell in 3.
Interesting.
And then I'm going to say for the race itself,
Max
Verstappen 1, Fernando Alonso 2,
yes.
and Lewis Hamilton 3.
Okay.
Your predictions, same thing. Go
Pretty
quick.
much very similar. So I'm going to say qualifying 1, Max Verstappen 1, Fernando Alonso 2nd, and Carlos Sainz 3rd.
Okay.
Then sprint qualifying will be Max Verstappen number 1. I'm going to say also Fernando Alonso 2nd, and then maybe Hamilton 3rd, because they're going to need a little bit of time to get to the bottom of their new upgrades. Then sprint, I'm going to say Max Verstappen winning the race. Maybe Lewis Hamilton taking 2nd.
So Fernando Alonso doesn't hold on to it.
And Alonso in 3rd. And then I think Alonso's and Aston Martin's are going to be a bit stronger in the race than the sprint, because Mercedes seems to be struggling still a little bit with degradation. So I'm going to say Verstappen first, um, Alonso second, then Perez third if he does come to this race weekend.
I'm sure he probably will do. But otherwise, yes, we could see a potential new driver on the grid. Well, that's not new, but a different driver
yes.
on the grid for Austria. But guys, otherwise, thank you so much for watching Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. I've been Mark, Reese has been Reese, and we, of course, will check you in the race weekend as it comes. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports 4. F1 qualifying in Austria. Of course, this is following on from practice session 1, and it's a very odd thing to be having qualifying on a Friday, but that's, of course, because this weekend is a sprint weekend in the F1 calendar. The second sprint weekend, of course, following on from Azerbaijan last time, and Reese has just walked in, so he will be joining us now. And yeah, Reese is here. And, of course, we finished practice 1 earlier. Max Verstappen finishing on top. And then the 2 Ferraris behind him. However, Max Verstappen only did that on mediums. We haven't seen 5 cars go around on a set of softs. So that is going to be completely new to us in terms of what's going to happen in qualifying. So lots of questions still to be answered. And welcome to all of you, wherever you are in the world. Please do let us know in the comments where you're watching from and who you're supporting in this Grand Prix. We've got 8 minutes until qualifying 1 gets going for the main race on Sunday. Of course, tomorrow will all of it be sprint races. And today's stream and the weekend is brought to you by our channel partner, Bitdefender. Bitdefender Total Security. That's, of course, one of their features. So, yeah, Bitdefender is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks to transform and improve their digital experience. With Bitdefender Total Security, you can protect up to 5 devices, whether it be Windows, macOS, Android, and iOS. Bitdefender has you covered with unbeatable threat detection against malware, spyware, and adware, and it does this without slowing down your devices. If you want to learn more about Bitdefender's total security, then please click on the link in the description and in the chat. A big thank you to Bitdefender for supporting the channel and sponsoring this weekend's Canadian Grand Prix. And yeah, the main proper events and everything gets going right now, Reese.
Yes, getting very exciting for this Grand Prix. I mean, looks like there's going to be quite a few people in contention for that pole position here today. The Mercedes looking quite strong, as well as the Ferraris seem to have quite good pace. I mean, we don't know if that pace from the Ferraris is genuine yet, or maybe the Mercedes are still sandbagging a little bit with their new upgrades. But yeah, hopeful that the Ferraris are also going to be in contention. Aston Martins didn't seem to be too strong in practice 1, but I mean, they could still be holding back a little bit on their pace as well.
Yeah, I mean, so lots of upgrades have been brought this weekend. We're seeing Max Verstappen getting into the car, Ocon putting on his helmet, getting ready for qualifying 1. Lots of upgrades have been brought by a few teams, including the likes, of course, of Aston Martin, Mercedes, McLaren. I haven't heard too much about possible upgrades from Red Bull, but I'm sure they've brought a couple of small little edits to their car. But we pretty much guess that Red Bull will still be on top at the end of the day, unless something drastic changes, unless we haven't seen proper pace from some of these cars. But who's going to be best of the rest, essentially?
Well, I mean, yeah, the Red Bulls are certainly still looking extremely, extremely strong and way ahead of the rest of the field. I mean, they were 0.2 seconds up on everyone on softs, but Red Bull was on a set of mediums. I mean, yeah, they were really flying out there. But we could see in this session, I think the best of the rest is obviously the fight for P2 or P3, depending on what Sergio Perez can do. Yeah, I mean, I think Mercedes are certainly looking quite strong for that the second constructor on the grid. The Ferraris, as I said already, are looking also quite promising, but we don't know just yet. Hopefully their new upgrades are bringing them into contention, and Aston Martin also have brought some upgrades, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and we've already seen a few drivers go off the track into the gravel, especially round that last corner and the first corner. So I reckon we'll probably see a bit more of that. Will we have a yellow/red flag in these qualifying sessions? Do you think somebody goes into the wall? You know, we might look at the likes of Logan Sargent and otherwise.
We might get a yellow flag. I mean, certainly a yellow flag is possible, but a red flag around here, we've got such big runoff zones. I don't necessarily think that's too likely to happen. But I mean, it's not possible. We've had a red flag here in the past in the rain with Daniel Ricciardo when he completely lost it. I think that was in 2020 2020 or 2021. I remember it was the first year of COVID when we had Formula One back.
Yes.
But I mean, yeah, that was a big shunt from him in the rain, of course. So I don't think that's so likely to happen here today.
Yeah, and rain is predicted for the weekend, but not for qualifying today. So we should have a dry qualifying session. So it's going to come down to the pace of the cars and the drivers, not going to come down to weather at the end of the day. So yeah, track obviously evolves. You want to get late qualifying attempts as late as possible. Obviously, it'll be a quicker time than everything else. And yeah, we voted earlier and we predicted earlier as to who could possibly finish 1, 2, and 3. And I predicted Max Verstappen 1, Fernando Alonso 2, and Charles Leclerc 3. And I believe you said the same thing, except your third place was...
Mine was Hamilton.
Hamilton third, I think, yes. Yeah. But either way, so let us know in the comments as to who you think your top 3 are going to be.
Just and looking here in the comments, Pure Blood has said his predictions: Hamilton P1, Max P2, Alonso P3, and yeah, that's his predictions. That's quite bold.
He said it's his predictions. I think it's his very bold predictions. Yeah, top speed reached around this track is 324 kilometers an hour. Turns, there are only 10 of them, and the elevation is 63 meters.
I mean, that is quite high, the elevation around this track. And then just a few more stats as well is that this track distance is 4.3 kilometers, 2.6 miles. Full throttle is spent at around 70.45% around this circuit. It is quite a fast circuit here in the Styrian Alps. It's also quite susceptible to rain, of course, because of how close it is to those mountains. And the track lap record around here is from Valtteri Bottas in 2020, 1 minute and 2 seconds, 0.9. That is a very, very fast lap. I don't know if we'll see that being beaten here today. Our fastest lap from FP1 was a 1 minute and 4 seconds.
1 minute
5, sorry.
Yeah. 1 minute 5 was the quickest lap in practice 1. And of course, we've only had one practice session. We're going straight to qualifying. We've got the sprint tomorrow. We're very much looking forward to what happens in that as well. But yeah, we're right now into qualifying session 1, which gets going in just 3 minutes' time.
Also, a very cool thing to note from this weekend is that Formula One is piloting a new low-carbon energy generation system here in Austria this weekend. Biofuels and solar panels are powering the paddock, pit lane, and broadcast area. Normally, this is all run by generators, of course, contributing to carbon emissions and CO2. I mean, it's great to have a low carbon emission alternative to this. As well, that means that the teams don't have to cart all of that equipment to the track. So yeah, it's quite cool. They're going to be, I think, introducing that more and more into the future.
Yeah, just seeing the crowds gathering here in Austria. Lots of orange shirts and orange caps, of course, for Max Verstappen and Red Bull. The paddock is looking relatively quiet. Yeah, I mean, it's all gearing up towards qualifying 1. Now, let's predict who's the 5 drivers we're going to lose in qualifying 1.
I mean, that's, I don't think, too difficult. Logan Sargent.
Yeah.
Nick de Vries.
Okay.
I think. Who else? The Alpines didn't seem to be fast, so I'm going to say...
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say one of the Alpines, maybe. So maybe Pierre Gasly.
Sure.
The Hasses probably will be down there as well. So I'm going to put the 2 Hasses down there as well.
Yeah, I'm going to say, as much as I like Albon, I don't think in this sort of condition the Williams car is going to be right up there in terms of qualifying.
Eat your words.
I hope I do. But I'm going to say going to be Sargent, de Vries, Magnussen, Zhou, and Hulkenberg always does well in qualifying, so I won't put him down there. So Hulkenberg always does well in qualifying. So I'm going to put, again, Sargent, de Vries, Magnussen, Tsunoda. No, not Tsunoda. I said Zhou. And yeah, maybe I'll add Tsunoda to that mix there.
Okay.
So I'll add Tsunoda there. I'm just going to go with...
leave Nick de Vries out?
I think so.
Okay.
No, it's both AlphaTauri drivers. The Williams... No, actually, I didn't put Albon down there. So that's the thing. I'm going to say Albon actually survives. I think that's fine. I've changed my mind last
Saving
minute.
Yourself a little
Albon
bit
will survive.
I think he's going to do quite well. I mean, Albon's shown that he's very strong in qualifying, and with these new upgrades to the Williams car, he certainly is extracting the majority of the performance that he can get out of it. Just watching now, Carlos Sainz getting ready to go out on track. He's sitting in his Ferrari at the moment. He is looking to be on a set of soft tires. Yes, he is, as Max Verstappen's also getting lowered down onto his pit lane box, now being released. 17 minutes and 46 seconds left to go of this session.
Yes, so it has just
green
begun.
light conditions, yes. Max Verstappen, of course, really loves this track here. I mean, it's Red Bull's home track, very close as well to the Netherlands. So a lot of fans from the Netherlands do come across here to see him race. Yeah, he's won here a few times, but he didn't win last year. Ferrari's won last year, if I'm not correct.
I think you are correct,
Or
but
not.
yeah, but otherwise, who knows? It doesn't really matter. History doesn't really matter when it comes to these things. It's all about the car and the season and the drivers, of course, in them. Yeah, we've seen Aston Martin and Red Bull out very, very early. So actually, everyone's getting out very early, but yeah, hopefully we're going to have a very good qualifying session. I really want to see Aston Martin, Mercedes, and Red Bull fight it out for that top spot. I'm hoping Ferrari are there. I just don't quite think they've managed to get quite just there yet. I might be completely wrong.
I'm hoping we're both wrong. I mean, yeah, I'm certainly hoping that they're very competitive. Max Verstappen now making his way out on track, making his way up to the third corner. Lando Norris on the radio, though, just saying that they're probably going to be backed up quite a lot, though, towards the end of this lap, as to be expected, of course. Magnussen now coming across the line to start his first flying lap of the session, the first flying lap of the session. He's going to have a lot of traffic, though, out there on track.
Yeah, it's always the problem with going straight out early. You get out early, you've hopefully got nobody in front of you whilst you're on your out lap. However, the moment you start the actual qualifying lap, traffic becomes a serious problem. And that is why you almost want to leave somewhere in the middle, because you start to see cars start their flying laps, so they get a little bit quick towards the end, and most people have made their way out to circuit in enough time so that you haven't got to deal with those people. So hopefully you back off enough. So the likes of, I look at an Aston Martin, I think it's of Fernando Alonso starting. He's probably in the perfect position as he starts his lap now. Yeah, so he's in the perfect position. You can literally see on the map there for us that he has got so much space ahead of him that he shouldn't be impeded at all. So should, in theory, as a result, have the quickest lap in the first round in the round of the track. I suppose the first attempt.
Yeah, well, we'll wait and see what actually happens. It's what you do on track that really matters. I mean, Sergio Perez now starting his hot lap. He's not fastest in the first sector at the moment. Max Verstappen, though, is about to come across that first sector marker. Let's see what he can do. I'm sure he will be up on his teammate, as he is. Yes, 16.4 seconds for Max Verstappen in that first sector. Purple sector for him at the moment. Magnussen has finished his lap now, and he is in P1.
Indeed. Well, has Magnussen finished his lap, or has he just started and it's just all moving ahead?
No, he's finished his lap.
Yeah, he's finished his lap, indeed. So Magnussen into the first place right now. Lance Stroll has also just crossed the line. He moves into third, having a few more people cross the line. Now here comes the interesting ones. Fernando Alonso about to cross the line. Let's see where he puts himself. He moves into only fifth position. Perez now following on. Let's see what Perez can do here. Perez moves into first position as expected. The fastest third sector. Max Verstappen now coming into the final parts here. Final two corners. Reese.
Yes, looking very, very strong around this track, looking so smooth. I mean, so well within the lines there. DRS now wide open as he approaches the finish line, puts himself comfortably into first place, 0.8 seconds ahead of Sergio Perez. What? Oscar Piastri goes P2.
Yeah, Oscar Piastri currently sitting in P2 is very interesting. I'm not sure he'll stay there. Leclerc coming around now to finish off his lap. He's not got any purple sectors, but where does it put him on total? Because it's going to be very close to... Oh, no, I thought it was going to be close, but not at all. Whole second and 1.1 seconds behind Verstappen. So quite slow there for Leclerc. Needs to really find a lot of pace.
Lando Norris has had his lap time deleted. He's the first person of this session, of this weekend, to have his lap times deleted.
Yeah,
as now we have Russell coming across the line. He only puts
also
himself
very,
into
very
12.
slow. Yeah, and I think that's just something that's going to be happening a lot, of course, this weekend. Deleted lap times. It's very common around those final two corners. People really try to get all the pace as much as possible, and often go off the track a little bit. They exceed those track limits a bit too much. So yeah, we've seen the first one deleted there.
Big lock up there from someone in front of Lewis Hamilton. I think that was a AlphaTauri, as Hamilton is now starting his next hot lap. I think we could see people doing a double push lap here, because I don't see anyone coming into the pits. These tires often aren't up to temperature properly enough in their first attempt, and now they're doing their second attempt, and it might just have a lot more temperature. There's more rubber out on track as well. Hamilton's getting a great toe from that hat, approaching now into turn 3 of this long braking section. We did see another lockup for that AlphaTauri. Nick de Vries having a terrible lockup there, having brake issues, I'm hearing.
That's interesting. Yeah, so Nick de Vries, where he needs to be doing half decently, obviously in threat of being one of those drivers in threat of being replaced. Not sounding very good for him. But Hamilton, however, is in sector 2 right now, going along relatively nicely. Still a little bit slow on Verstappen's time. I think 0.2 down in that first sector. Let's see whereabouts he is in the second sector. Quite a bit down still. Yellow flag, and it's an Alfa Romeo.
That's Joe.
Will he get the car going
Valtteri
again?
Valtteri Bottas is in the grass right after turn 1, so he might have just gone over the sausage curb there a little bit and lost it. Hamilton, though, still pushing on his lap. He's lucky he will not have this lap time deleted, but he finishes and puts himself only in 12th.
Very slow lap. So very disappointing so far from all of the big teams, with the exception of Red Bull. Everyone pretty much a whole second down on Verstappen's time. The only one right up there is Oscar Piastri, and we see this Alfa Romeo still not moving of Valtteri Bottas, so not sure he's going to be able to get the car going.
Just listening to what he's saying on the radio here, he's struggling to get his car into neutral, as we do now have a red flag. Red flag has been called, so the timer has been stopped. At least the clock has been stopped. Yes, we have had a red flag. It's
I said we'll have a red flag in qualifying. Yeah, I said it would probably be happening, and indeed we do. Valtteri Bottas, the unfortunate one, just took a big slide,
that sausage curb and lost it.
Weird that he couldn't get the car going again.
I think as he lost the car, he lost drive. The engine just shut down for some reason. And now he can't get himself back into neutral, which is interesting because you can't start the car until it's in neutral.
Yeah, so we've got a red flag now. So a break in qualifying here. And I'm going to use that break to chat about our partner, Bitdefender. You see, unlike Valtteri Bottas, who probably doesn't have Bitdefender, you can avoid such mishaps and issues, of course. So, Bitdefender's total security detects when you play, work, or watch a movie, so it knows not to bother you with unnecessary requests. Depending on what you are doing, Bitdefender temporarily halts pop-ups, adjusts visual settings, and pauses unimportant background activities so you can enjoy your device to the max. If you want to learn more about Bitdefender's total security, then please click on the link in the description and in the chat. Yeah, I mean, I think if Valtteri Bottas had Bitdefender there, would have, there's probably a virus not allowing his car to get going and to neutral. So if he just had Bitdefender there, he would have had no problems going. But he has, you see now he's installed it and he seems to be going now. He's making his way back to the pits after getting the car going. So, yes.
Well, it's good to see that he was able to get that car back going again, because that means we will get going very soon yet again for Quali 1. Very interesting, though, this weekend that we get 2 qualifying sessions. We have qualifying today for the race on Sunday, and then we have qualifying tomorrow again for the sprint race. Sprint race should be very, very exciting. I'm quite excited for that.
Yeah, and we've got 11 minutes and 49 seconds, so still lots of time left in this qualifying session for drivers to get back out there. Let's just look at the preliminary times that have been put in by all of the drivers. I'm very surprised by the Mercs times, and I'm very surprised by the Ferrari times.
I'm very surprised by the McLaren times.
No, I'm not too surprised by Piastri's time, funny enough. I actually reckon, it's...
I mean, he's ahead of Perez.
Yeah, but I mean, you can have a very good lap. But you can see his teammate, Lando Norris, was not able to put in a lap himself.
He did put in a
lap.
But
yes, it was deleted. And it was quick. Perez. You do make a good point. You did make a good point, because there's 2 drivers that actually put decent lap times. So McLaren out there immediately with some decent lap times.
Still quite a way off of Max Verstappen.
But everybody's quite a way off Max Verstappen, which is, to be fair,
normal. Unusual.
But Leclerc's a whole second behind, and the 2 Mercedes, 1.5 seconds each behind.
Interestingly, though, as has been pointed out by an MS YouTuber in the comments, is that Stroll is ahead of Alonso.
Yeah, but you've got 12 minutes left. It's not going to end like that, unfortunately. The race will resume, rather qualifying will resume at 15:12 local time. It's quite later on.
3 minutes.
So it's 3 minutes time still. It's a long way to when everybody's cars are back in the garage already and we're ready to get going. So 3 minutes we're going to be waiting here until we get going, with another 11 minutes and 49 seconds still left of the session. Carlos Sainz unable to get a lap time in, as did Hulkenberg, Bottas, and Ocon. None of them got lap times, and Norris did get a lap time in, but it was deleted.
Yes, well, while we have this small break, please do let us know in the comment section who you think will be dropped from this qualifying session, as well as your predictions for qualifying here today. We do have 2 more minutes left to go until the session is resumed. Just watching Esteban Ocon, he is currently not got a lap time down.
No, that's what I said earlier. Bottas, Ocon. Verstappen's time has been deleted.
Gosh.
Verstappen's time has been deleted. So that came out of nowhere. I just noticed that right now.
Yes. So Piastri's on pole.
So Piastri is now currently preliminarily on pole. So he was a whole 0.7 seconds up on everybody, but apparently not legally there. So that would make it very interesting. And of course, now brings the entire field much closer together.
The problem, though, is that it's taken quite a lot of time for the
stewards.
Just watching, the stewards. It takes them just a little bit too long to make the decision to delete lap times.
Ooh,
I mean, that was so minimal, really.
Yeah.
That was so close.
But
I mean,
rules are
out.
rules. Rules is rules. And if you are out of the race limits there, of course, the track limits.
A lot of smoke coming out the back of his car as you went a little bit wide there. Oh, no, it's
not.
not.
I think it's just brushed.
It's the plank on the bottom of the car just bottoming out a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did just go wide, but ever so slightly.
Not too ever so slightly.
I mean, it's by about that much.
Yeah, but that much is enough. You know, sometimes we've seen them where you can't see them with the naked eye, and they just zoom it in and they slow down. There, at least, it was fairly obvious. They're not going to have any complaints. They're outside the track limits. So you'll have to go and do another attempt there. But again, we've already seen so far this track is different to all the other tracks and was just the same last year. Track limits are a serious problem in those last 2 corners. Drivers push it to the absolute max, and they always come under threat of exceeding those track limits. So, Max Verstappen will have to go around again and put in a new time. I'm sure he'll put himself back up near the top.
Yes, well, we do have green flags yet again here in Austria. We do have some clouds, though, making their way over the track, which is quite ominous.
Yeah, I mean, the clouds are there. They're still not predicting any rain for the session, so I don't think there's going to be any rain from them, but it's probably a precursor. It's probably a precursor to what's going to happen for the rest of the weekend. We do know, of course, lots of rain is predicted for this weekend in Austria.
Not too much, though, because we've had torrential rains here before. I mean, the drainage is really good here at this track, at least. So hopefully we should still get running no matter what the conditions. But yeah, we can get some torrential rain here.
Yeah, and cars all making their way back out. Albon leading the whole lot of the cars out. He's currently on his out lap. Albon also sitting in 9th right now. Tends to do relatively well in qualifying. Another driver who also tends to do very well is Hulkenberg. And just talking about the smaller team drivers, of course. But we still do expect all of our big names to make it through the first session. But, you know, I'm sure there's a surprise in for us at some point here. We've seen it in the past few races, some major names not making it through certain qualifying sessions, the likes of Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton.
Well, if track limits is going to play a role here, we could certainly see some people being dropped out.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with the fact that it's taking time for the stewards to make these decisions. Drivers could get a banker lap in, think they're safe, and the session ends and they get dropped out. Yeah,
it's exactly that sort of thing I'm thinking about now. So I don't think anybody's going to come into the pits early. I think they're all going to try and do as late a lap as possible to make sure that even if their previous lap was fine, if they've got like only 2 minutes left and they don't know if it's cleared or not, they're going to have to make sure that they get a fast lap in, because as we've seen already, 2 lap times have been deleted, which were very fast. Both Norris and Verstappen had their lap times deleted, and they were right in the top 3. Either of them. So we've only got 10 minutes left of the session now, and Alex Albon now starts the first hot lap since that red flag.
Yes, let's see what he is able to do now. Perez is also on his out lap, as well as quite a few other people. Still, interestingly enough, the McLaren seemed quite well. The McLaren of Piastri seems quite comfortable. He stayed in the pits. I mean, no harm, no foul. He's got a banker lap and he may as well wait. I mean, there's still 10 minutes, so yeah, he may as well wait for the track to evolve a little bit more. Max Verstappen, though, will be, I'm sure, slightly livid about that lap time.
I'm not sure he'll be too upset, because he'll probably know the engineers will tell him someone and say, look, you were quite a fair way off. So
I think Albon's going to have his.
Oh,
lap
I was about to say, I
He's
just
gone
watched
wide
that
twice.
I just watched that final corner.
Final two corners. he's
Final
gone
two
wide.
corners, he went very wide, especially in the last corner there. I think Albon's time will also be deleted, but it's a very good lap time otherwise. 0.2 seconds behind Piastri's
Hamilton
time.
now coming onto, doing a very.
Alonso goes quickest. Sorry, I just wanted to say there. Alonso goes quickest, and Norris
goes quickest.
But Sainz has currently set a purple sector in sector 2. Hamilton coming around the final two corners. Let's make sure his
within the limits.
Oh,
yeah,
within the limits. So Hamilton should be safe here. Where does he put himself, though? Into third.
Sector 2, fastest sector 2 for Max Verstappen. Interestingly enough, he didn't put a fastest first sector.
No.
Sainz now goes first with a 105.3.2 seconds up on Lando Norris. Max Verstappen now into the final sector. He puts himself into first with a 105.1.
So at least not that much quicker than everybody else. Everybody else got much closer to Max Verstappen's time. It's almost identical to his earlier lap. And
Leclerc puts himself into third. Also a good lap time from him. Still a bit of a gap, though, to Max Verstappen, 0.2 seconds. Leclerc, though, filling that a little bit. Zhou and Bottas put themselves into 9th and 10th.
Currently sitting out are those who haven't put actual lap times in. De Vries, Tsunoda, Gasly, Sargent, and Hulkenberg.
Piastri's also still in the pits, though, with his banker lap time. He's in 7th at the moment. Still quite a good lap time from him.
Yes, but I think he probably will make his way out. Still got 7 minutes and 50 seconds left of the session, and we've already seen how those times were so much quicker than the first part of the session before that red flag. So I'm sure we'll see Oscar Piastri come out of the pits, but maybe more towards the end. Can't afford to make a mess up, though.
Sargent now starting his first hot lap. Let's see what he's able to do coming through turn 1 neatly, not having a incident like Valtteri Bottas did have. So much pressure, though, on Logan Sargent at the moment. A lot of people calling for him to be replaced. With Mick Schumacher. I think even Toto Wolff is putting a little bit of pressure on the Williams team boss.
Yeah, I mean, lots of pressure on Logan Sargent at the moment. Mick Schumacher waiting in the wings. Logan Sargent has improved his time on Ocon, who's, of course, being compared to right now. Of course, Ocon is the driver at risk in 15th. He's not currently being relegated from the session, but Sargent improving his time on Ocon's time. So going around fairly quickly here. Let's see, a sector 2 time is also up on Ocon as well. So he's coming into the last sector. Let's hope that he can do half
Red Bulls stay out the way. There was a bit of traffic in front of him, but they got well out the way. We don't see the Red Bulls ever really impeding people too often. I think they are a lot better.
Sergio Perez has been caught a couple of times,
yes,
but not often.
Very close to the limits there on the final corner. Hopefully, he was within limits. He puts himself into 18th, still in that dropout zone at the moment. Is Stroll, Ocon, Sargent, Hulkenberg, and who has just pulled himself out of that zone, Gasly, one of my 5 who I thought might just drop out.
Yeah, and Stroll now sits back into that relegation zone, currently sitting in 17th,
Russell,
but he's on an out lap.
A good lap at the moment. Russell at the moment can split the 2 Ferraris.
Yeah, I mean, Russell going around very quickly, coming into sector 3 here. He's improved on all his times. Track limits, almost looks a little bit odd in that second to last corner, but no, should be absolutely safe.
Well within track limits.
And let's see where he goes. Only into 9th. Rather shocking in that last sector.
A lot of time in the final sector. Pure Blood just saying Logan deserves 2 years in that seat, considering he's a rookie. I mean,
nah.
A year, I think, would be enough. A year should be enough to turn yourself around. I mean, it's a difficult position, of course, in that Williams, but it's certainly looking quite strong this year. Albon has put it into the points a couple of times. We should have seen at least Sargent getting himself a little bit higher than P20. I mean, most of the races he has DNF'd.
Yeah. So we've only got 5 minutes, just over 5 minutes left of the session to go. Currently sitting in our top 5, Verstappen, the 2 Ferraris, it's Norris and Alonso. The surprise name, of course, Norris there. Russell, not particularly quick. Perez, very much not quick at all, sitting in 11th. And most surprising of all, well, I suppose it's sort of surprising, but not surprising. Stroll currently sitting in the relegation zone in that Aston Martin. Really needs to get out of it. And he's gone slower in that first sector already on this attempt. So he really needs to get around slower again in that second sector than Alex Albon. So not going very quickly around this track here, Stroll. And somebody was trying to make an argument for Stroll earlier, but right now not doing him any favors as he comes into this last sector. I think it's going to be very slow. I don't think he's going to improve on his time at all. It's going to be a slow lap up into 11th, but it's really not going to be, I don't think it's going to be safe.
Russell's
he has to go again.
Pits, though. I wonder what that's about. Perez, though, also quite far off the pace at the moment. All the way down in 13th. Perez really needs to get back out on track very soon because, I mean, Gosh, yeah, no, you don't want to see the second Red Bull all the way down in P13 when Max is well ahead of everyone else.
Yeah. We did mention Perez being quite low down. Russell also low down. Stroll, not a particularly quick lap, and I do reckon that everybody's going to put in quicker laps right towards the end of the session. Verstappen's out on track, getting ready to go on another lap. I'm sure he'll improve. Both Ferraris also out there. Alonso currently doing an out lap. Perhaps now he's starting his hot lap. I'm hoping to see a very quick lap here from Fernando Alonso. Let's see what he can do. Reese, take us round.
Yes, looking neat and tidy through turn 1. A little bit over the curbs there, but still well within the limits. DRS now wide open along this very long DRS straight. It's quite bumpy. You can see the car bouncing a lot. Now coming up the hill towards turn 3. Still quite a bit off in that first sector. Norris, though, up in his first sector. I think Norris is getting a little bit of a toe off the back of Alonso. Let's see what Alonso can do in sector 2 and 3. I mean, we saw Max have a yellow first sector and completely obliterate sectors 2 and 3. So maybe you just have to... Oh, he was over track limits there a little bit, though.
Maybe not, because we haven't seen many laps deleted since, so hopefully he'll stay within it. I think he's given up on his lap. He has...
No,
sorry, that's
Stroll getting out the way,
teammate.
But
he is quite low off his pace already. Norris has put a purple sector in sector 2, so he's going around very quickly. Alonso giving him a great time.
He's dropped off. He's doing a prep lap, I think. He's not pushing through that final quarter.
Alonso oh my word, that was very close.
Getting very close to the back of Piastri was whoa, Norris puts himself into P2. Sorry. I think Alonso was trying to set himself up for a lap and just got caught there.
That's what I'm saying. I think Fernando Alonso had to avoid and divert there. Lots of people on the racing line, and really
we could see some penalties coming for that. For being on the racing line, that's very dangerous.
Yeah. Currently looking at those who are dropping out: De Vries, Sargent, Ocon, Albon, and Hulkenberg. The two.
I did say that I was worried about those Alpines. I mean, they did not seem very strong in practice 1.
No, just watching a replay here of Fernando Alonso getting completely caught up with traffic on the main start-finish straight. You can just see he has to avoid the McLaren of, I think that was Piastri there.
Yeah, it was Piastri. Norris was behind him. I mean, brilliant.
My word, look at the traffic on this. Sorry, I think it's Perez is going around.
Yes.
So much traffic he has to put up with.
I mean, yeah, there is really a lot of cars out on track at the moment. Everyone trying to just get out of that bottom 5, I think. Max Verstappen, though, is still in the pits. He is not too safe, though. I mean, Norris is only 0.063 behind him.
Yeah, I mean, it's very fantastic time from Lando Norris. Piastri not too far behind either in 7th. So it's looking like a good session so far for the McLaren drivers. Not something we often say. Perez now coming to the final corner now. Let's see what sort of time he puts in. He puts himself right behind his teammate, Max Verstappen. So he will be safe for this session.
Max is on an outlap, though. Verstappen is on an outlap, so he will be able to. I mean, doesn't hurt.
Who cares? He's definitely through to the next session, so he shouldn't need to do anything. Now following on board with, I think this is Alex Albon. Indeed, it is.
Yes.
Currently in the elimination zone, but can he move out of it? We've seen a lap time has been deleted for somebody, as a whole lot of drivers have just been moved up the grid. I think Hulkenberg's lap time was deleted, unfortunately, so he's going to have to go and do something else again. Will he have time? Probably not. 50 seconds
He is
left.
on another lap at the moment, but he is point something off of Verstappen, so doing a good lap at the moment. Sargent's also on a hot lap right now. Will he be able to get himself out of that bottom 5 for the first time? We will have to wait and see. Albon 0.1 up on Hulkenberg's fastest time, so he should put himself
into 15th at least.
Yeah, at least 15th.
Let's see how he fares in the final 2 corners here. We've seen lots of lap times deleted already so far, so let's hope he stays within track limits. It looks all right.
I did say I would think that incident in turn 10 would be noted, and it now has been noted.
Fantastic lap there from Albon. Sorry, just puts himself into 8th position. So you're saying it's been noted, yeah.
Albon, for sure. Yes, but that incident between Albon and, well, sorry, not Albon, between Alonso and Piastri has been noted and will be investigated. Sargent goes 16th.
So Sargent is yet again out of this session. The session has just finished now, so everybody crossing the line will finish the session. Although Sargent did cross the line before, so will he push on this lap without ERS? Will he be able to make it round? That's a good question.
Sargent, though, finished with the exact same time as Bottas, to the millisecond.
Yeah, that is incredible. But Bottas sits just ahead of him, 16th. Sargent.
George Russell, the final driver, really, really close to that dropout zone. Ooh, not a
Not
very
a
good
great
final
little
corner,
exit
but will he be
there.
able to improve on his lap time?
Yes, he
will.
does.
He puts himself into 10th.
Significantly so. Sonoda currently at risk. Bottas, Sargent, and Zhou still going round again. Let's see Bottas and Zhou. Bottas moves ahead of Sonoda. Sonoda's out of this session, and Pierre Gasly improves in this time dramatically. The Alpine there moving into 5th, so not too bad there. And Zhou not able to make it out. So we have our eliminated drivers, unless Logan Sargent can somehow do something. I doubt it very, very much. Logan Sargent, Magnussen, De Vries, Zhou, and Sonoda will all of them be eliminated from this Q1. So, yeah, we've just seen a lap time there deleted. I think that was of Norris. Just had his lap time deleted, but still absolutely safe up in 6th.
Very lucky that he was still able to stay in there. But a lot of people saying De Vries, you're fired. I mean, yeah, no, he's not doing well.
No, De Vries stone dead last, and yeah, indeed, Sargent wasn't able to do anything in that lap. So we do have final confirmation, just one more time. Yuki Tsunoda, Guan Yu Zhou, or Zhou Guan Yu, Logan Sargent, Kevin Magnussen, and Nick De Vries. All of them eliminated. Nick De Vries right at the back. For once, Logan Sargent might be happy because he didn't finish in that stone cold 20th place, only in 18th place. Still not good enough to do anything in life, but, you know, it's not quite lost.
Yeah. I mean, Nick De Vries, he's over half a second down on Tsunoda.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's getting replaced.
Nick De Vries is certainly going to be in trouble as we come into silly season in the Formula One season. We do know that there are certain drivers in the background ready to take over.
I mean, I think at this point, there's no harm putting Danny Rick in that car, because I think no matter what Danny Rick can do, he's still going to finish.
It's going to be better than De
Vries. Yeah. I mean, is dismal.
It is bizarre that Nick De Vries has been so shocking this season when he has won every other Formula.
He's won Formula E.
He won Formula E. He won Formula 2. He won Formula 3. So he was very, very good there. He cannot seem to funnel his ability into Formula 1.
Being asked in the comments any opinions on why he's struggling, I mean, I really don't know.
I can't say it's too early either.
The AlphaTauri shouldn't be. It's not that bad. I mean, we've seen Tsunoda have a few good races. He's currently up in P16. It's not as bad as P20, but yeah, I mean, the car's got a lot more pace than what De Vries is doing.
I mean, you can't say that he's been rushed into Formula 1. That's the big thing. You can't go and say, oh, well, maybe he's a bit too young and he needs to wait a couple of years. You can't say that, because
I've been super disappointed, though, because I've been following De Vries for quite a few years and was really looking forward to him coming into Formula 1. And it's just been so disappointing, as I say. I mean, I really thought he would be quite strong. I think he's also disappointed in himself for sure.
Yeah, but yet again, he is eliminated in Q1. So we've got a whole lot of drivers still left. All of the big names are still there, which is good to see. We're heading on into Q2. Now, this is where things will get interesting, of course, seeing if any major drivers will drop out. We've seen the McLaren so far being very strong in qualifying after that first session. So that's very, very good for the Orange fans.
Hopefully, their new upgrades will be able to improve their race pace, because their qualifying has been brilliant. I mean, wow, Norris was almost able to match Max Verstappen's lap time. He was 0.028 seconds behind.
Yeah.
Well, it was deleted, but it was very close.
Yeah, but either way, we're looking at the McLaren saying they could certainly force somebody out in this next session. Of course, Gasly with a very good time there for Alpine right near the end. We were saying the Alpines were looking a little bit worse for wear, but managed to gauge a decent lap right towards the end of that qualifying session. So we'll watch the Alpines and the McLarens with great interest going into Q2, of course, because they could be potentially knocking out other big name drivers. We've got, of course, 2 Red Bulls, 2 Ferraris, 2 Mercedes, and 2 Aston Martin drivers all still there. And the McLarens certainly looking quite quick, and the Alpines could have something to say. So,
yes,
who are we looking at the next 5 to drop out?
I mean, the midfield is really quite tight, and those Mercedes weren't looking as strong as I was hoping. Well, certainly Hamilton is all right, but George
Russell looked a little bit slow there, yeah. I think we'll probably lose the other Alfa Romeo. We'll probably lose the other very small teams. We'll lose Alex Albon, I reckon, will be lost. I do reckon Valtteri Bottas will be lost in this session. Probably the Haas drivers will be lost in the session as well. But after that, then it becomes very, very difficult to predict. Qualifying gets going in just 1 minute 40.
Yes, very, very close to getting underway for qualifying two. George Russell, just looking at him, any opinions on why you think he's struggling? I wonder if they've just developed the car in a way that now helps Hamilton a bit more.
I think maybe just didn't have a couple of good laps there. Maybe just needs a bit more practice, because we have seen with George Russell, he tends not to be
fast straight away.
Yeah, it takes a
Yeah.
while to get going in most Grand Prix. He tends to improve as he goes along throughout the weekend. So having only one practice session might hinder his ability to put in a fast lap right away. But he's into Q2, which is the most important thing. So now he just needs to put a decent lap in here. And let's see what Alex Albon can do as well. Maybe he can push himself into Q3 yet again. So that could be quite good for him as well.
Yeah, he is looking still like he has quite a lot of pace. Once again, outperforming his teammate, Logan Sargent, just showing that there really is still quite a lot of pace.
And the timing board showing that we've got just 40 seconds left until Q2 gets going. And if you are not wanting any random tracking things on your PC or in your computer or your device, then be sure to check out Bitdefender. If you don't want to be tracked, then I would certainly recommend looking at Bitdefender's anti-tracker extension. The anti-tracker extension blocks trackers that collect your data and allows you to view and manage this information on each website you visit. It keeps your browsing data private and enhances performances by loading web pages faster. If you want to learn more about Bitdefender's anti-tracker extension, then please click on the link in the description or in the chat as we get going with Q2 in just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and Q2 is underway. All the drivers now leaving the pits and they're going.
Yes, someone just saying there, TC in the comments saying George is more cautious after his crash at Canada. I don't necessarily know if that's true. If you're going to be cautious after a single crash, you should kind of stop racing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we have seen it. It does affect them, of course, mentally. We've seen Sergio Perez hasn't necessarily been the same after his crash in Monaco. It can, of course, affect your confidence going into a qualifying session. You're a little bit more cautious about pushing the car as much. But I mean, of course, George's crash was in the race. Sergio Perez's crash was in qualifying, which is where Perez has been really struggling this year, and that affects his races.
Yeah, we've got 14 minutes left of this qualifying session. Of course, just a 15-minute qualifier. It's a bit shorter than Q1. So not too much time for drivers to make a mistake. They can't really afford those mistakes. And if you are looking for a way to watch the Formula One, of course, go look in the description of the video. There is a guide, and also on the channel there's a video and a guide that explains exactly how you can watch Formula One for free using one of our other partners, ExpressVPN. So be sure to go and check that out as well.
Yes, just waiting for drivers to get started on their first hot laps of Quali 2. We do have 13 minutes and 40 seconds left of this session, but Max Verstappen was not waiting to get caught out again.
No.
He was right at the front of that queue.
It's hilarious how the one time he got caught out in qualifying is just decided that he's never going to do that again. He's never going to leave late. He's going to go first every single time. He refuses not to put a decent lap time in. So very interesting there as he starts our first hot lap of the session. And I'm sure it'll probably remain with quite a few purple sectors here as he goes around into sector 1.
Well, at the moment, he's certainly on the good start for a grandstand weekend. He's led every session so far. He's led FP1, Q1, and now hopefully, well, for himself, hopefully he will be leading Q2. He has got the first purple sector of the session.
That's immediately taken away by his teammate Perez.
Perez has the toe, though, which is, of course, benefiting him at the moment.
Maybe there's a little bit of a tactic there in Red Bull that's shaming Perez and the fact that Perez needs a toe from his teammate to get a decent lap to get him to Q3, because he was not looking particularly quick in Q1. Look, he did get the second fastest time right near the end, but otherwise was looking a little bit like he was struggling.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad tactic to use to try and get your second driver a little bit higher up, as we do see Max Verstappen is a lot faster in that middle sector. Perez not able to match the middle sector at the moment, but someone has taken away that fastest first sector. Leclerc is not on a particularly fast lap, but
perhaps Fernando Alonso.
I wonder.
We've seen a sub 105 from Verstappen, the first 105 of the weekend, a 1.4 or 104.9. Perez a 105.0. Leclerc coming across the line now just in 3 seconds-ish time. Let's see how quick he is compared to the Red Bulls. And you're quite a lot slower, Leclerc. So I don't quite know what happened there. I think he gave up on his lap, clearly.
Yeah, he's backed off.
Sainz is going to come across here. Let's see what sort of lap he puts in. His teammate Leclerc had to give up on his lap. Sainz comes across and quite a bit slower than the Red Bulls. Verstappen.
Norris in third. Brilliant lap time from Lando Norris, 105.0. Very, very close to the Red Bulls. Stroll puts himself up into P4 now.
Yeah, Stroll and Alonso very close to each other, both quicker than the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz. Hamilton now coming around the final couple of bends here, and he's got very, very good times so far in his first 2 sectors. Let's see how he finishes. It's going to be a quick lap, I think. Not
Slower
quite
than
quick
Alonso.
enough. Not quite quick enough. 7th position for Hamilton. And all of the drivers that we thought would get eliminated are in the elimination zone. Having said that, the Hulkenberg just pushed himself into 5th position.
Just watching Max Verstappen.
Does he look at track limits
Has
there a
he
little
had
bit?
his lap time deleted again?
I think his track limits are looking. It's going to be
his lap
deleted.
time's been deleted. Perez is now with provisional pole.
Oh, this is very interesting.
Yeah, Formula One has lost control of their their screen, but it's been recovered. But yeah, so at the moment, Max Verstappen has had his lap time deleted. Max Verstappen has no times on the board.
Yeah, so Max Verstappen drops all the way down into the relegation zone. He'll go back around, of course. Still got 10 minutes left to put in a decent time.
Perez has had his lap time deleted.
So maybe following your teammate is not the best thing in the world, because apparently then you're just following his lines and also going out of limits. So lots of track limits again, as it was last year, and as we said this weekend would happen. Lots of lap times being deleted. The Ferraris are looking.
Lando Norris on provisional pole.
Lando Norris currently sits in the pits and says, yes, I'm on pole right now in terms of Q2 at least.
Oh, Stroll has had his lap time deleted.
Yeah, we're just going to keep deleting. As you know, somebody's got to trigger happy fingers. Delete. It's fine. I'm sure they'll look at Hulkenberg's lap and say, you shouldn't be that high.
This, and the problem is that there's a lot of heavy looking clouds moving overhead, and they are making the track temperature fall more and more, which means that you might not get as fast as the lap time.
Yeah, and you can see there's a lot of rush in the pit lane right now to try and get drivers back out there. Lance Stroll really needs to get out as quickly as possible. He's one of the major drivers sitting in the bottom 5.
It looks like the Red Bulls may have preempted this. It looks like they're going on a double warm down.
We predict we will have our lap times deleted.
Well, I think they just do it just in case, because you want to be careful, I guess.
Yeah, and we see that Perez is going to have a tow from his teammate Max Verstappen yet again. They're coming into, the middle of the track now?
Into turn 3 now, yes. Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see a lot more lap times being deleted, especially in Q3, when drivers really do just push as much as they can. Looks like...
Got one push lap happening right now. It's an Alpine.
It looks like Ocon's wearing his Schumacher tribute helmet again. Great to see that. I mean, him and Mick are very, very good friends. So nice to see Ocon paying tribute to his friend's father there with a Michael Schumacher tribute helmet that he ran in Canada last week.
Boys, I'm going to have to put up with some traffic here. The Red Bulls need to get out. Well, the Red Bull and the Mercedes. Oh, no.
Perez got in the way of Ocon's lap time there. Very badly got in the way of Ocon. We might be seeing a...
I'm not sure if he was directly on the line, but he was certainly very close to it. Ocon, I don't know if he had to change his line at all, but it got very, very close there. Coming into the final sector, let's see what sort of time he puts in. We'll get a good indication of what sort of effect that traffic had on his lap. His teammate, Pierre Gasly, is also following, not too far behind him. Oh, that's track limits, surely, maybe. I think on the final corner there for Ocon. He's going to come in.
Time, though.
Good
P4.
lap time, yeah. And his teammate now comes across and pushes himself into 2nd position at 105.3. So great laps there for the Alpines, but I think Ocon's lap might be deleted. He looked to have gone very wide in that last corner.
Yeah, he did go quite wide. 700 people now joining us in our stream. Thank you very much for watching. Please do drop a like and comment in the comment section. Also, do subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy the content that we are putting out for you. Very exciting race weekend ahead of us, so please do stay tuned for all of the sessions that we have coming up.
Indeed, spam the comments with who you're supporting for this weekend. Otherwise, let us know where you're watching from. Watching Bottas now coming around. He's currently sitting in the relegation zone without a time, of course. Let's see what sort of time.
On the radio, just saying, this is honestly a joke with track limits. I assume he has been impeded.
No, I'm not sure. I think he's talking about the fact that his track keeps getting deleted the whole time.
Oh, track limits. Sorry.
Limits, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Max Verstappen, they're very upset with the track limits. And they said this last year.
They're all of them far down in the 2nd sector, but still up on Bottas at the moment.
Yeah, so Bottas, of course, not really the driver he's looking to try and beat.
Perez fastest in the 2nd sector, though, with that tow.
Yeah, Max Verstappen coming into the final 2 corners here. He's going to have to be very careful not to exceed track limits. He didn't, and it will go over in the new fastest time, a 1:04.9.
I mean, he didn't have a single fastest sector anywhere, and Perez is still slower than him with the fastest sector.
Yeah, Perez moves into third. Piastri crosses the line. He's quite slow down there in 10th. As Stroll now moves only into 9th position. Not particularly quick for the Aston Martin driver. Only 6.5 minutes left. Carlos Sainz is now going to come across the line here. Let's see what sort of time he puts in. Leclerc, of course, in danger right now. Sainz crosses the line into 2nd position, right behind Max Verstappen. A very, very quick lap there from Carlos Sainz. Ferrari not doing too badly this session so
not
far.
Not bad at all. They look very, very strong. I mean, only 0.08 down on Max Verstappen. It's looking all competitive out there. Albon with the fastest first sector, though.
Yeah, I mean, one has to wonder at some point, I mean, I don't want to suggest anything mad, but I mean, Albon has been racing like a demon this whole season. You know, it's really
Albon's gone over track
really
limits.
taking. Not so sure. We haven't seen track limits
before.
I know we haven't seen track limits deleted for the corner before yet, but Albon moves into 8th position in a Williams, of course. So, I mean, he's really racing like a demon. One has to wonder at some point, does he maybe get a bigger offer from another team and say, you know what, come back to a big team because actually you can do something.
You can't forget he is a Red Bull driver.
Yeah.
Replay, I told you. Track limits.
Maybe, but his back right rear looks like it might stay in. We have to have all 4 tires off the track, and not just the front. So all 4, and the back rears are wider. So maybe his back rear tire was in.
No, they've been losing times for turn 9. That's where Perez lost his lap time for. Let's watch if Leclerc can keep himself neat and tidy in these final 2 corners.
Yeah, very important.
Turn 9,
yeah, very safe.
Turn 10. Hamilton, though, with the fastest first sector up on Stroll at the moment. Leclerc puts himself into 5th. Perez down into 6th now. Hamilton approaching the line now. Sorry, Russell approaching the line now. Russell gets him out of.
Russell's very much in danger still.
But only in 10th. Hamilton now coming across the line. Where does he put himself? Up into 6th.
Yeah, not a very quick lap at all from Russell. And
Alonso
we do see
has
that.
Had his lap time deleted.
Boo. Alonso's lap time has been deleted. Russell now moves into the elimination zone after just finishing his lap. So he really needs to motor back to the pits and get back out to put a fast lap in. Otherwise, very much in danger of getting eliminated. He could be the first big driver of the day to be eliminated.
Yes, he certainly could be if he is not able to get himself back up there. I mean, we don't want to see him being dropped out of the session.
No, and somebody they're making a comment saying, when can we replace Checo with Lando Norris? Well, Lando Norris sitting in 3rd and Perez only in 6th. You have to wonder, you know, it's Lando Norris certainly ruining his decision. I think there's no doubt about that. He could have moved to Red Bull a couple of years ago, didn't do it. And yeah,
I don't think Red Bull will go back though.
No.
I think once they
Perez had his time deleted.
Oh.
But that's a late decision from the FIA. So everyone has to make sure they get back out into the track because all these lap times are going to consistently get deleted. I mean, that was a late decision.
That was a very late decision.
So Perez's lap time has been deleted, and he's not got a single decent lap. His quickest lap is at 2 minutes and 6 seconds. So it's
that was a slow down lap.
That's a whole minute slower. So Perez needs to get out there quickly with 3.5 minutes left of Q2, and lap times deleted all the time.
Also means that he loses another set of tires.
Oh dear.
Yeah, not going very well for the second Red Bull.
The projected knockout time is so close to Max Verstappen's time. It's scary. The projected knockout time, meaning if you've got a slower time than a 105.2, they reckon that you're going to be dropping out of the session.
Up until 5th, essentially.
Yeah.
That is the safest position where Hamilton is. Just watching why Alonso's time was
the second to last corner.
Like that. It was tiny. I mean, shame. But yeah, unfortunately.
And the last corner.
In both corners. So that was it, unfortunately. I think he would have called it on the radio. Just watching Perez, he also lost it for turn 9.
Yeah,
for the
very much off as well.
Second time losing his lap time in that corner.
Yeah, it's going to be scary coming into the final parts of this qualifying session because lap times have been deleted everywhere. We could see some major dropouts. Verstappen, however, holds onto his time, so at least he'll be safe in terms of his lap time staying there. We see Perez is still out on track, getting ready to do a fast lap. His out lap currently underway.
People just having a bit of a argument in the comments as to whether Lando Norris would do well in Red Bull alongside Max Verstappen. They are friends, of course, off track, but once you're in a car, I don't think there would be too much of a challenge. I think Max is just in such another league at the moment compared to anyone else. It's kind of a thing that you don't want to be Max Verstappen's teammate, really.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be willing to understand that you are a second driver if you want to be teaming up with Max Verstappen because you aren't.
I mean, Lewis Hamilton, I think, has in his contract that he is a number 1 driver. No ifs or buts.
Race control has noted that Perez's time deleted for track limits at turn 9, lap 16. So that's the second to last corner. And we do now see a Mercedes starting a fast lap. I think it's George Russell.
Yes, it is
George Russell starting his fast lap.
We do have Perez on an out lap as well at the moment.
Yeah, so Russell and Perez and Stroll, the three major names currently sitting in that relegation zone after having their lap times deleted. Not Stroll, of course. Stroll's just not quite as quick. But Perez and Russell, no, I think Russell, I'm not even sure if he's had his lap time deleted.
He's down on his own time at the moment.
Yeah, so this is not looking good for George Russell at all. Is something wrong with the car, or do you think he's just really lacking confidence right now? Because I don't think he's going to make it out of the session.
I don't think so either. He's really not looking very comfortable. I mean, Hamilton putting in a good time. He's gone over the track limits though.
Hamilton going, oh no, this is Russell, of course.
Yeah,
Perez has got a good first sector on. Is that Russell's time? Why are they comparing him to Russell's time? I don't quite know. Russell slow again in that second sector. It's not looking good for George Russell. I think he's going to get eliminated. Perez, however, with a purple middle sector. So as long as he doesn't exceed track limits, he should be fine. Can Russell make up some time in this last sector here? He stays within track limits. Where does he go over? Does he move himself out? No. He does just. He's a driver at risk now. Perez is now going to move himself ahead of Russell, though. And indeed, Perez moves into fourth position. Oh, my word. Second position, sorry. Right behind Verstappen. And Russell's back in the elimination zone. And unless Russell can somehow do something in this driving lap, now he is eliminated in Q2. We've only got 10 seconds left of Q2. Now, see lots of drivers coming towards the line here.
Ocon should put in a good lap, but he has gone over track limits. His time will be deleted. So Ocon will finish all the way down, I think, in 12th.
Alonso currently at risk. Does this a quicker lap or not? Alonso very much safe. As long as he's not in track limits, he's safe. He's also under that cushion that they predicted. Hulkenberg now coming over. He moves himself back into the normal points. Onto the top 10. Stroll, can he get out? Stroll, great lap from him. 105.1. So Stroll and Alonso survive into Q3, provided no lap times are deleted. We're going to see lap times probably deleted. Russell is definitely
Perez's
out.
time is being deleted.
Oh,
Perez's
my
time
word.
has been deleted. Sergio Perez, my word, in that sister Red Bull, once again having a shocker of a weekend.
Danny, I cannot believe it. I cannot actually believe it. I cannot believe he's had every single lap time in Q2 deleted. Sergio Perez
just waiting for the comment section to go mad.
Oh my word! If he did 3 or 4 fast laps this session, every single one deleted.
Yeah, no, they are going to be.
And Russell is also out of the session. Let's just look at where Sergio Perez lost. It's that second to last corner yet again.
Turn 9.
Turn 9.
Actually, sorry, turn 10 this time. Turn 10.
No, it's turn 10. I think he might have been thrown off by the car ahead of him, starting a fast lap there. Just watching him. No, turn 9, he was deleted for track limits.
But it's turn 10 that he actually went
wide.
Turn
10, he actually definitely went wide. So, yeah. I mean,
it's dismal.
Sergio Perez all the way down in 15th. Russell also eliminated in this session. Other drivers, Piastri, Bottas, Ocon, and Albon manages to survive. Although Ocon is currently, he's back into the pits. So, Alpine of Ocon, that's a bit of a surprise, has dropped out. And Albon, yet again.
Christian Horner looking.
Yeah, Christian Horner looks absolutely livid. But just by the way, Hulkenberg, as we kept saying, a great qualifier.
Bottas' time has been deleted.
That doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Hulkenberg and Albon, as we kept saying, are 2 very good qualifying drivers, and yet again into Q3.
Brilliant.
Great drives from them.
Brilliant as well from Lando Norris, yet again having an absolutely stellar.
That would explain Ocon moving down into the relegation zone. He had his lap time deleted as well.
That's very disappointing, very unfortunate for Esteban Ocon.
I do almost feel like the track needs to change somewhat, given so many track limits are exceeded on that final corner. One surely maybe thinks you can take that run off a little longer and maybe just add some.
It's very difficult because they like to go a little bit wide into turn 9 to allow themselves to have a really good run into turn 10. But doing that, they often go over track limits. It's so difficult. But I mean, we see people doing it properly. So you can do it.
And at the end of the day, I suppose, as much as it's a very unfair thing, it does provide this sort of entertainment.
Yes,
the likes of all the track times being deleted because you can't stay within the track.
Has had his lap time deleted. Gasly has dropped to 8.
No, he's luckily he's still through. So we're still waiting because we can't give final confirmation, I suppose, because we're seeing lap times deleted left, right, and center. Will Stroll and Alonso survive? Because they're putting laps right towards the end there.
Perez on the radio with just expletive after expletive. He looks as well just absolutely bewildered, like what the hell is going on?
I think he might march his way to the FIA and start banging on doors.
Yeah.
But as the comments go and say, it's just ridiculous how these track limits have just affected everybody. I mean, my word.
I mean, as TC says, not the track issue. Surely these are the best drivers in the world. Surely the best drivers in the world can stay between the white lines. I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, track limits are there for a reason, I suppose. And the fact that we've got a whole lot of times that were put in within track limits is fine. What this does present, though, is going to be an issue, I reckon, for the race. Just as we saw last year, we saw penalties given and black and white flags and otherwise for track limits. I think we'll see the exact same thing again this year. And just watching a replay of Pierre Gasly going over his track limits, oh my word, by millimeters, I think.
I see we have Jeff Bezos here asking a question. Yeah. Jeff Bezos, if you want to ask a question, just send us a super chat rather.
Yeah, I agree. Send us a big super chat.
Especially if you're going to ask stupid questions like, should De Vries replace Perez?
Should De Vries no, man.
Yeah, no, you definitely owe us a super chat.
Stick to Amazon, apparently. Oh dear, shocking. Perez is absolutely livid. You can just see there's absolutely livid there.
Russell's out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's also bad from Russell. Sorry, no, I'm just reading here from
we know this.
I thought it was maybe a track limits thing.
No. Russell has been out. He wasn't able. He wasn't even saved by track limits, Russell. He was just slow, which is very, very surprising considering we really had high hopes for Mercedes this weekend.
Yes, I mean, I was really talking them up before the session. They looked quite strong at the end of FP1. Hulkenberg has had his lap deleted.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's also.
Does that mean that he's going to drop out the top 10?
I think he will.
Well, it says he's currently in 9th.
Okay, that's lucky. He had a good banker lap, and then he's very lucky with that.
Is he into the next sector? I don't even know, because they're still. I mean, we've got only 3 minutes until Q3, and they still haven't made up their minds about which laps have and haven't been deleted.
I mean, typical FIA, but yeah.
I mean, bizarre.
2 minutes and 46 seconds now left to go.
But I mean, we saw as well that Christian Horner was absolutely fuming, and Checo Perez was absolutely fuming, and of course, that's all been captured on the cameras for everybody to see. And if you don't want to be seen in your livid state or anybody looking at you in your privacy of your room on your devices, then be sure to go and check out Bitdefender. Is probably what Checo needs right now. Needs somebody stopping all these cameras, having a look at him, because it looks like they could use Bitdefender's webcam protection here. Protect your privacy and prevent webcam leaks. Bitdefender's webcam protection notifies you when apps try to access your webcam and lets you block unauthorized access. If you want to learn more about Bitdefender's webcam protection, then please click on the link in the description or in the chat. Yes, that is our partner, Bitdefender. Be sure to go and check them out, guys. Great antivirus software and great defense for your PC as well.
Yeah, 1 minute now and 53 seconds left to go. Watching with Lando Norris, the only McLaren left in Q3. Once again, though, having a very, very good weekend. I mean, he's been so strong. It's great to see that McLaren's are at least starting to find some pace, because
Piastri's still struggling a little bit.
But I mean, that's to be expected. It's his rookie season. He's had some great show out races, of course, but
I'm not calling Piastri out. I think he's definitely shown us that he's one of the few. He's the only rookie, I'd say, this season that's definitely shown his means of being there and his ability to go. Yeah. I
mean, just with some more comments there, just saying about Helmut Marko, I think, he is going to be absolutely livid. Christian Horner.
Look at that rear tire.
He wasn't out over track limits.
No, but did you not just see what the tire was doing?
He was drifting, but his front part was still within.
I've never seen a replay of a tire shake so much. It was doing the whole happy clappy dance.
I mean, those curbs are so aggressive here. So, I mean, we've seen suspension breaking from the curbs here.
So now, going into this final qualifying session, we only have one Merc, we only have one Red Bull, but surprisingly, we have both Aston Martins, have both Ferraris.
I didn't think we'd have both Ferraris here today.
We've got a McLaren, we've got a Williams, and we've got a Haas. So a big spread of cars. It could be a very interesting Q3, which gets going in just 25 seconds time. So guys, whilst you're here, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, turn on notifications for future uploads as well.
I mean, a few people here asking what's happened to Perez. Perez, unfortunately, just kept getting his lap times deleted, and he's out in Q2. He has qualified P15. I mean, that is ridiculous.
Yeah. You shall not pass a lap time, an FIA inspection with regards to your track limits. I
mean, he's got a difficult race ahead of him on Sunday.
I do enjoy that comment. Says, what's wrong with Perez? Skill issue. Yeah, unfortunately, not a great start for Sergio Perez. Now, interesting, Albon is actually going to have an attempt at a lap here because prior he's been gone into Q3 and he's basically said, I'm not moving any further ahead of this. So he doesn't bother with a lap sometimes. But we've got Q3 underway and Albon is the only car making his way out onto track. Just 11 minutes and 40 seconds left. Now, what's interesting to note compared to Q1 and Q2, nobody else is following out on track. Do you think that's because nobody wants to keep wearing their tires down because of laps being deleted?
I think they're going to wait to see what people can put in first. Also wait and see what the conditions are doing. Max Verstappen, I say, now is out there already. We do have now 916 people watching. Thank you very much for joining. Max Verstappen is now going on an out lap. While it's quite quiet out there, we do have some flares being lit up there, but not as many as we've seen in the past.
Yeah, let's hope the flares can stay away because otherwise they can start impeding the track. Just under 11 minutes left of the session. Now cars making their way out, as Reece says. That both Ferrari drivers and Lando Norris have now joined the track, and Aston Martin, Stroll, and everybody's
someone wearing a hat made out of Red Bull cans.
That's brilliant. Love it. And
I mean, it is the Red Bull ring, so good
indeed.
to see.
And Albon is about to start his fast lap as he comes around the final corner and now heads down the start-finish straight. Let's see how he can fare in this final qualifying session. He now starts his fast lap.
Certainly, I've been keeping a good eye on Albon. He's been having a great couple of races, good couple of qualifyings as well. Still being able to hold that position during the race. The car is not only strong in qualifying, but also good on race pace.
Which just says that Logan Sargent is absolutely garbage in that car, considering the fact that his teammate Alex Albon is doing wonders with it.
It's, of course, his rookie season. Someone also saying that Mick had a terrible first year in Haas. I mean, Mick, unfortunately, in his first year, had a car that had no development throughout the season, and he had a teammate that was trying to kill him the whole season as well. But yeah, Sargent, I think he should be able to get himself at least out of Q1. That car certainly has it in it. Verstappen now starting his first hot lap of Quali 3. Himself and Albon, I think the only cars out on track at the moment. No, we do have Sainz also out on track. Albon setting a fastest middle sector, but Max Verstappen has taken away the fastest first sector.
Yeah, Albon setting the first fastest, the first lap, of course. So all of these sectors will be purple for him. It's up to the drivers behind him to beat those. And Alex Albon goes over quite slow, a 105.8. That time will definitely be beaten. Oh, Max Verstappen maybe looking at a little bit of track limits in that part. But we haven't seen any track limits exceeded in that part of the track, but definitely looks a little bit close there as he's coming towards, another purple sector in sector 2. And people are following not too far behind it. He's still holding on to those purple sectors as he comes into sector 3.
Just looks so stable out there. It is, I mean, you can literally see vortices coming off of that front wing, which just means it is so aerodynamically efficient.
I think he stays in track limits, so he should be fine. At 104.5, the quickest lap of the day. Although Leclerc is following on not too far away, and he's got a purple sector in sector 2. So if he can do half decently in sector 3, could challenge Max Verstappen for this time. He's going around very quickly here, Leclerc. Let's see what sort of time he does. As he comes into the last corner, can he keep it within the track limits? Very much in the track limits, and he's going very quickly. He might well beat Max Verstappen's time. Oh, my word, very close. A 104.7. Very close.
Now also putting in his first fastest lap, putting himself into 4th. We have Alonso, though, also on a lap. It doesn't look like he's pushing all that much, but he is now coming through turn 9, well within the limits there as well. Turn 10 now.
This will be a slow lap for Alonso. I think a 104, 105.
5, 5.2. 5.5, sorry.
Yeah, so not the quickest lap from Fernando Alonso. There needs to go around again to get anywhere close. I'm sure he's got a lot more time in him. Needs to get closer there. But Max Verstappen sits in first. The 2 Ferraris in second and third. The Ferraris have been very good in all of qualifying so far.
Yes, the Ferraris have been quite dominant, at least. I mean, compared to the Mercedes, who we thought were going to be quite strong out there on track. But we do have now Hamilton just ramping it up for his first hot lap of the session.
Yeah, and we've got 7 minutes left of this qualifying session. Max Verstappen's made his way back to the pits, as has Alex Albon. I'm sure we'll see some more cars get into the pits. Hamilton's opted for a different approach to this qualifying session, only doing his out lap now, quite a bit after everybody else has put in their laps. So he's going to have to know exactly what he has to do to get around quickly as he comes around the final couple of corners here before starting his own hot lap.
Yes, it should be quite an interesting lap for Lewis Hamilton. He should be quite fast out there on track as his DRS is now wide open as he comes over that start-finish line to start this lap.
Indeed, and we've got 6.5 minutes left, so not too long for these guys. They're probably going to be able to get one more fast lap, maybe a couple two.
Stroll's had his lap times deleted for track limits, so he now has no time on the board.
Yeah, it wasn't a very quick time, so I don't think it's going to be affecting him too much. Hamilton's set a purple sector in Sector 1. Let's see how he can do in Sector 2 and Sector 3.
I mean, not a tricky sector, so it's not too hard to get that first fastest sector. But now coming through the middle sector, which is a bit more tricky, he should, well, hopefully he will have some time in hand, because it will be good to have a three-way battle for Q1. I mean, for P1.
Indeed. Hamilton, though, quite a bit slow in Sector 2. They're 0.3 seconds behind Verstappen, so not going to be doing too much, I think, to affect him there. Let's see how he can fare in the final sector, though. He's done relatively decently in the final sector previously, so as it comes around, track limits might be a thing there, I think.
Looks like he was within, but goes fifth only. Not the brilliant, well, not the best final sector, 0.5 seconds down on Max Verstappen's fastest time.
Yeah, so only the Ferraris and the Red Bull have managed to make their way into the under or the sub 105 region, and none of the other cars have gone into that region as of yet. So still
Just
a bit of work to do.
A comment from Christian Knapp saying Verstappen beat the track record from Science in 2020. That lap record was unfortunately set in a race, so not the track record during quali. That is a 102 that was set by Valtteri Bottas in, I think, 2020 as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, just watching a replay here of Lance Stroll, and yeah, same as previously in this, was it turn 9?
So, yeah,
track limits.
Yeah. I mean, he was over, so it happens.
At the end of the day, it doesn't really make much difference. He was very slow in that, well, not very slow, but he was much slower than all of the other cars on track. So well done, everybody. We have just reached 1,000 viewers for the qualifying session. So welcome to all of you, and very glad to have you all here in the stream. And be sure to like the video, comment where you're watching from, or otherwise let us know what's happening in the stream. How can you believe the fact that George Russell and Sergio Perez were eliminated in Q2, but we're getting towards the final stages of Q3 here, and any surprises right now is the fact that I think Alonso is all the way down at 6th, so we need to hopefully get that further up.
I mean, I'd certainly like to see Alonso finishing a lot higher, but maybe it's also due to altitude. The Mercedes engines are struggling a bit, but I mean, I say that Norris is still very fast.
Yeah. I don't know. Alex Albon is going on another fast lap attempt here. Let's see what he can do. If he can improve on his time. He's in 8th position, currently ahead of Hülkenberg and Stroll, who obviously doesn't have a time as of yet.
Yes, just watching Albon carrying on this lap. Good first sector for himself. Personal best coming through the middle sector now, turn 6, where we've seen a lot of people getting quite close to the gravel there. 0.4 seconds off of Verstappen's fastest time. This should put him around... If he keeps up the current delta, it will bring him just behind Norris. But I think he will lose a little bit of time in this final corner, as he still stays within track limits.
And let's see, and he moves ahead of Alonso's time. So Alonso needs to put a quicker time, and nobody else has made their way out into track. So that's going to be Albon's final time, I'm sure, for the session. He does slow down quite a lot. I don't think he thinks he can improve much on that. So he currently sits in 6th. Whether he finishes there is the next question. Alonso, Gasly, Hülkenberg, and Stroll below him, all in the pits right now. I'm sure they'll make their way out very shortly to go and attempt to beat those times, of course.
Just watching Albon, it looks like he did come over track limits there, unfortunately. So it could be, unfortunately, just ever so slightly over the limits and get that lap time deleted.
Yeah, probably will have that lap time deleted. I don't think it's going to
look very close, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's not going to worry too much. I don't think, he's out there. He's not expected to do much in Q3 when he's in a Williams. So, the fact that he's managed to put himself into 8th with a half decent time right now, he knows he's going to be in the middle of the grid somewhere. And that's all he wants to know, and that's all he needs to do. Going forward, of course, into tomorrow's sprint shootout, that's going to say maybe he puts himself in a decent position for that tomorrow in the shootout qualifier.
Yes, I agree with Dave, though, in the comments, just saying Albon is doing superb, in all honesty. I agree. He's had a great season so far in a car that should not be in Q3. That car is so underdeveloped compared to any of the other teams. I mean, he's really doing very well, and I think a lot of teams are going to be taking notice, especially Red Bull. He could have a few seats opening up.
Yeah, I think certainly De Vries is going to be under pressure, and Perez has been shocking for a number of races now. Just 2 minutes to go in this qualifying session. All the other cars have made their way out onto track, with the exception of Hamilton. Of course, Albon is back into the pits. I don't think we'll see him in the session. So he currently sits in 8th, but we're going to see some new lap times get put in from everybody. Hamilton has now joined the track. Hamilton opting for an approach to try and get as much rubber down the track as possible in terms of all the other competitors going out before him, so that he can get as quick a lap time as possible. Will it work? Who knows? He currently sits in 5th.
In other races for him. He's done the strategy a few times, and it's worked brilliantly. I mean, he's had some great races. It's provided also some great watches for us. Max Verstappen now starting his final hot lap, looking neat into turn 1, well within track limits there. Looking, I mean, this car just looks, it doesn't bounce, it doesn't oscillate. It's just so stable throughout the entire lap, through the corners. It is so balanced.
And a new purple sector
in the first sector already.
Indeed. And
people just asking, did Albon leave the Red Bull Academy? No, he didn't. He is still a Red Bull driver. On his helmet, it still has the Red Bull sponsors. He's being paid. He's a paid driver in that Williams. So yeah, still a Red Bull driver. So they could still bring him into the Red Bull team.
One has to wonder whether or not they do consider the idea of saying, Perez, you're fine. But Verstappen is up on his middle sector as well. So you set a purple sector and up on his middle sector. Coming into the last sector here, I'm sure we'll see a new fastest lap get put in very shortly from Max Verstappen.
Well within the limits into turn 9. Will he stay within in turn 10? Yes, he does, ever so slightly. What lap time can he put in here? 3, 4, as he is now. 1:04.3. A very, very good lap time from Max Verstappen.
Yeah, and he firmly puts himself into first position. Alonso moves all the way into 3rd. He's joined the sub 105s. Sainz is a little bit slowed down on Verstappen's time, but he's very, very close to Verstappen's time right now. Leclerc also following on. So let's see where he can put him. Stroll, oh my word, has moved into 3rd position. We've never seen that from Lance Stroll. Here comes Sainz on the final start-finish straight. Let's see where he goes. As Sainz moves into 2nd place, a very, very quick
up in the middle sector, ever so slightly up on Max Verstappen's time. Could we see a Ferrari on pole here today? Could we see that?
Yeah, Leclerc's going to get it very, very, very close to Max Verstappen's time. Oh, no, I think that's going to cost him. He comes around onto that final start finish straight. Where does he put himself?
2nd.
Oh, my word,
ever so slightly behind Max Verstappen. Brilliant, though, at the end. So close between the Ferraris and the Red Bull. Could we have the Ferraris challenging, though, this weekend?
Yeah, and unfortunately, both Aston Martins, after putting some decent lap times right near the end there, not able to stay near the top. 6th and 7th for Stroll and Alonso. But Stroll outperforming his teammate for the 2nd time this season. We've not seen it very often, but Stroll putting a decent time in there. Hopefully none of these lap times get deleted. We might well have a look at some of them. So don't go anywhere yet, because these lap times could very well get deleted right towards the end here. Max Verstappen, however, will definitely sit on pole for
looks like Stroll
Sunday's
hasn't
race.
Finished the session yet, so he could still be on a push lap.
Nah, I think they're all making their way back.
Just being told he has pole position, saying not too bad. I mean, gosh. But I mean, very close to Charles Leclerc. It's great to see that they are super close together.
Indeed, yeah. So just looking now, all the people have made their way back to the pits. Will we actually see all these drivers stay in the positions right now? Or do you think we might have a couple of surprises with regards to track limits?
I mean, I'm not counting it out. We could see some track limits coming to play here in the next few seconds even. You never know. I mean, it's amazing to see. The teams already have, I mean, they've got their 1, 2, 3 positions, and the teams already have their hats waiting for them. Yeah, great to see. I mean, but we could see these lap times being deleted quite soon. Yeah,
but Max Verstappen definitely on pole for Sunday's race, not of course for the shootout, which is tomorrow. We'll have another qualifying session for that shootout.
Please do join that tomorrow morning with us. Should be very exciting to have this once again. Very, very exciting to watch qualifying, especially on a sprint weekend.
Yeah, we're just waiting for final confirmation of all of those various lap times, but we currently do have Max Verstappen 1 and the 2 Ferraris in 2nd and 3rd respectively. Charles Leclerc in 2nd, Carlos Sainz in 3rd. A great turnaround for Ferrari in the last couple of races, finishing 4th and 5th in Canada, and now starting 2nd and 3rd for Sunday's race here in Austria. So great laps there for Ferrari. Maybe they've turned the corner that they've needed to turn for ages, because we've seen their race pace has significantly improved.
And they've made some better calls on the pit wall. So, I mean, if they have some good race pace, some good strategy calls, they could really challenge on Sunday. I mean, the rain could also throw a bit of it's always my favorite thing, saying a bit of a spanner in the works. But I mean, it's true. It could happen. It could bring the Ferraris into contention and could give them a race win when Red Bull has been absolutely dominant.
And don't count out Fernando Alonso in a race as well. We know how effective he is this season so far. Starting all the way down in 7th, though, a lot of work for him.
You can't forget, though, Lando Norris qualifying in P4. Brilliant weekend for Lando yet again. I mean, the upgrades certainly seem to be helping him get further up the grid.
Yeah, Lando Norris finally starting to compete where he wants to compete in that McLaren. But race pace for McLaren has not been looking very good. The qualifying pace has been good. Have they turned a corner with regards to race pace? That's the next question. He might well drop quite quickly further down the grid. We've seen that this season already. Hopefully it's not a horrible day on Sunday, but we still got tomorrow to look forward to. Don't forget, tomorrow is a completely different event. We've got the sprint shootout and the sprint race itself. You can join us on Forever Motorsports for that. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and turn on notifications so that you know about when those streams get put up, and join us for those with our pre-race build-ups as well. We've got some interesting content for you guys to watch there as well whilst you're waiting for that. So a good day, I think, for quite a few teams.
I mean, Max just saying here in the post-qualifying interview, just saying that, I mean, it's been difficult out there, even for him, who's been so dominant this whole season. We saw him having a lap time deleted in Q1. He didn't make that mistake again, though, unlike his teammate. But he's saying they don't make these mistakes on purpose. It happens. Your car can ever so slightly slide. It's never going to react the same through every corner. So you don't really know how it's going to go through those final 2 corners. But it does happen, and you have to learn from it, unfortunately.
Yeah, indeed. Just going to go over the final qualifying results. Max Verstappen 1, Charles Leclerc 2, Carlos Sainz in 3, Lando Norris 4, Hamilton in 5th, Lance Stroll in 6th, Alonso in 7th, Hulkenberg in 8th, Gasly in 9th, Albon again in 10th. Managed to get himself into that top 10. Rounding off the bottom 10, Reese.
Yes, Russell then in 11th, Ocon 12th, Piastri 13th, quite a way off of that sister McLaren up in P4. Bottas then in 14th, Perez terribly down in 15th with a deleted lap time, Tsunoda 16th, Zhou 17th, Sargent 18th, Magnussen 19th, and then all the way at the bottom, Nick De Vries, certainly a driver with a lot of pressure on his shoulders to be taken out of that seat.
Yeah, and Ferrari so close to the Red Bull time that just 0.048 seconds Charles Leclerc was behind Max Verstappen. They'll be very, very happy, Ferrari, with that qualifying there. And maybe looking at the sprint shootout qualifying for tomorrow with a lot of optimism. Maybe they can try and start themselves at the top of the sprint shootout, get some good points there. Of course, sprint shootout 1 to 8 get points exactly as according to the number of positions there. So first place gets 8, second 7, etc., etc. But nonetheless, guys, that brings us to the end of our qualifying stream here on Forever Motorsports. Reese, thank you so much for being here for it. And all of you back at home, thank you guys so much for being here for it. And also a big, big thank you to our sponsor, Bitdefender, our channel sponsor and sponsor for this weekend's Grand Prix. We do thank Bitdefender. Go check out their links in the description and in the chat as well. And yeah, they can certainly help you as they help us as well. And they clearly helped Ferrari, big sponsor of Ferrari, as we can see Bitdefender on their shirt there. And they're up into second and third. So it just shows you they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. So go and check them out. Reese, any final comments from today's sessions?
Well, just once again, very impressed by Alex Albon, as well as certainly shocked by the Ferraris seemingly coming out of nowhere with some pace. Maybe this track just suits them a little bit better. But certainly great to see them contending and fighting for pole.
Indeed. Thank you guys so much for watching Forever Motorsports. I've been Mark. Reese has been Reese. You've been watching on Forever Sports. And we will see you for tomorrow's sessions, the sprint shootout, and of course, this qualifying for the sprint race. Well, other way around, and the sprint race. But anyway, we'll check you then, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.